recording?
That's all you have to do.
We're recording.
So we're on.
Okay. Everybody ready? I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Green Bay Public Arts Commission. Today is Wednesday, January 11th, 2017. We're in the City Hall, room 604. It's 7:05. So,
You want to call, yeah, you do the roll.
Yep, do some roll call here. Ken Touchton, I'm here. Matt Bureau. Here. Randy Scannell.
Here.
Cheryl Renier Waite.
Here.
And Pooja Weller.
Here.
Not here is Celestine Jeffries, who is our staffer.
Maybe on her way.
She may be on her way. So, the agenda for this agenda, January 11th, if you've all looked at it, can I get a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then the agenda, or the minutes, rather, from December 14th.
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Hi, sorry.
Motion passes. We have no communications today.
Celestine's on her way, she just texted me.
Okay. And the old business, update potential, okay. So did you guys?
Well,
Cheryl.
I put a Facebook request out there just for people
Yes,
interested.
and
so
I meant to
That's
copy
a great idea.
to share that.
Yeah,
and
Jeff Bollier from Press Gazette shared it as well. So I think more will keep coming in, which will be good.
Outstanding.
But I think I have like a number of pretty good sites here.
Okay.
They're very east side sites though. So I think,
I saw that.
there's a lot of east side, so we need, there's one for Beaver Dam, but I feel like we need
There.
more west side sites.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beaver Dam Park.
I have, I filled out a list here also. Just also noting the major access points to Green Bay, which are East and West Mason, Webster, North and South, Liable. These are essentially the exits, Ashland, Lombardi, Shawano, Valp, University. Those are all of the access points to Green Bay. So eventually,
Ashland seemed like, for me, like, whenever I drive up and down that, like, there's so many areas right on Ashland that we could hit. And right on, over on Fort Howard Avenue. There's places there that potentially could be good points.
yeah, near Fort Howard Avenue, and, okay.
Where's Fort Howard Avenue?
It's right on the water, you know where Georgia Pacific,
Oh, okay.
right on there.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
There's some spots there, like there's a
Mhm.
huge lot. It's been for sale since I've got to Green Bay,
Oh,
6 years ago.
Yeah.
It's,
But it's private property, right? though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I mean, potentially
still
they
workable,
might,
potentially, right?
see it as a
Mhm.
great way to actually finally sell the place,
Mm.
you know?
Right.
It's just a grass lot.
Any that you're particularly excited about?
Well, there were the standard ones that were like the triangle by the attic. There's
Yeah.
that big right of way
That's a
triangle there.
definite hotspot.
There was a number of them at Baird Place, Mason, and Webster, Baird Park.
Yeah.
Although there's a lot of trees there, visually I'm thinking how that would work. My favorite place that was listed is at Mason and Hartung. When you,
Oh, yeah.
Hartung?
Uh-huh.
There's a
Hartung.
gazebo,
It's my hood.
right, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There, where the trail kind of starts out
I love
East
that
River.
idea.
It's where the horrible pedestrian crossing is.
That is the worst!
Right there. But we own that, it's redevelopment authority owned, I think.
Really? That
space there where the
that's a great
gazebo
one.
is, so that's all open. So that would be
Yeah.
it's a very busy street, that's kind of a good place, I think.
Now, how much of that property is ours? Like, how deep from Mason Street does it go?
All the way to the house.
All the way to that property?
All the way to the
That's
house,
huge
so the
space.
trail, and then I also got comments from some staff up here as well about the whole, and there was on here too, I think, the exiting down by Bay Beach,
Mhm.
coming off the highway,
Yeah.
coming in.
Mhm.
Or
Webster?
even that, yes,
Because there's gonna be a boulevard, and I'm not sure how wide that is, but that's,
It's
I
gonna
think
be-
to see some.
it's gonna be very
I think to see
wide.
stuff on the boulevard on
Um,
Webster, yep, I was gonna mention that one.
And then it's coming off, it was the I-43, bottom of the Webster exit off of I-43.
Right.
But then also that intersection at Irwin,
So
at
that'd
Lee
be
Shore
bottom of the
Drive.
exit, how do you get
Mhm.
off?
Well, when you're coming
It'll
off
be
the
right-
exit,
It'll be,
It
it's
goes
at the
around.
bottom of the exit.
yeah, there's probably right-of-way, I'm
Yeah.
thinking in that area there.
Mhm.
So it's not really at the bottom then, it's off to the side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a long morning.
We need a map.
What
Google Maps.
do you mean? The other place is at Irwin and East Shore Drive,
Okay.
where
Ah,
there's
right.
the go-kart place.
Mhm.
And then the green space where you're kind of entering into Bay Beach Wildlife Sanctuary, so
Northeast, right.
there's a lot of potential spaces in there as well. So
These are great.
I think there are, there's the southeast corner of Oakland and Walnut,
Mhm.
so I'm thinking trying to picture where that is.
Walnut.
I want to say that's got to be where, like, close to where the Fort Howard sign is.
Okay.
And the Taco Burrito maybe, and the
Yeah.
Seymour Park, that maybe area there. So I think there's a lot of good spots, but I'd like to see some more west side.
Yeah.
Well, I got one more east side one, then I got a couple west siders.
Sure.
If it wasn't mentioned, down by the river, by the Hampton Hotel.
Oh, yeah. I got
Because
that
we're
one.
gonna have to eat, okay, well, and then, west side, Fisk Park, by Fisk Park
Oh,
somewhere,
mhm,
yeah.
Fisk Park.
Which is that on Shawano or Dousman?
It's Dousman.
Dousman.
Something they do in other cities that I've seen that have been really successful, and the west side has a lot of these potential locations, is the roundabouts. They put something right in the
Yep,
Oh.
yep,
roundabout.
yep,
Right.
And Phelp has a bunch of roundabouts.
Mason has a ton of roundabouts.
West Mason.
But we'll have
Yep.
to check with the people who have the contract for all the garden, like, they do
Yeah.
so much. that-
Right. We'd work in conjunction
With
with
the-
the
with the-
gardens, and it could be just a really great.
I think we should
scene.
just trample right through.
Right on
Although
that.
there is, that is kind of a risky spot sometimes, because there are people that drive,
Right over it.
Over
yeah.
it.
It
So-
would.
we have to look at that.
Yeah.
We can
But
maybe
it's-
mound it up some.
It's outstanding
whatever, you know
though,
what I mean?
because everyone
Make it a
goes there, it's a
road,
focal point.
Yeah.
Put some back out.
Yeah, there we go.
How many more for the west side?
Yeah, well, you hit the roundabout, I was gonna say Bell.
Yeah.
Also maybe Mather, is it Mather Heights Park?
Mhm.
Yeah,
With the
Mather-
wall?
Yeah, because that's a pretty busy intersection, Mather and
Phillip and Park
and
Street.
Gray.
Yeah.
I could only really think mostly of parks on the west side there, and I don't know.
Well, parks would be, parks are easy.
Yeah.
because
Anywhere
it's
on
easier to-
South
Yeah,
Broadway.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Anywhere over there.
Also,
There's a ton of space.
medians, like along Phelp and West Mason, there's huge stretches of medians.
Yep.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
called South Broadway.
Hi, Sustin.
morning.
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 Yeah.
So, I think those are some really great points, and I really like that you reached out and put a focus down there. That's
Well,
awesome.
and, I'm gonna send an email out to the presidents of the neighborhood associations too. I got a number of comments from presidents, but then I'll reach all of them, because
Okay.
who knows better than,
The people that should be running,
neighborhood.
yeah.
Right. I have a recording too.
Yeah, I know, it's just for the
Minutes.
minutes, it's just easier to do it with that little tape thing, so.
Gotcha.
It's called South Broadway, the road right by Georgia Pacific.
Huh?
It's Fort Howard Park area.
South Broadway?
Yeah, so there's like all this area here, there's like
Mhm.
tons of,
Green space. Uh,
Is that in Green Bay?
yeah, it's in Green Bay.
So Broadway, Fort Howard Park.
Yeah, it's right by so basically Fort Howard Park and it's called Cormier Park.
Yeah, right.
Cormier Park, that's
I think
Schwab.
that's Ashwaubenon.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's right,
It's
that's
too far.
Yeah,
too far
Yeah.
south
That's
Broadway.
Schwab.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we go, so it doesn't go past the railway? Wait.
Lombardi. I think Lombardi is
which
the,
so close.
Yeah, Lombardi, yeah, except for the one spot. Maybe
This
we
is
could do
not
a
horseshoes, though.
Maybe we could do a statue by the National Railroad Museum.
That's too far south.
No, because.
That is actually at.
It's an island of Green Bay in the sea
No
of
way.
Ashwaubenon.
Are you
Yes.
serious?
Yeah.
We could do an amazing one day.
Yeah, we could.
I
They
just,
post so many people, but they always trying to look for something new and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem with nonprofits.
I always thought it was Ashwaubenon until just recently.
Really?
So I got on the
So
train,
it's
I've
not
really
me.
been pushing that.
Nice.
I got bored.
You
we're
do.
going over.
Yep,
They made me
I got a
look
lot
at
of.
I
bits
saw
on
it.
Facebook.
I saw that. We're not.
But we're
doing-
looking west side though. We need more west side sites, this is what we're looking at.
Yeah. Oh, did you do different colors?
No, I'm
You
just,
said west side?
oh, not by, yes, I'm,
that.
I'm more put together, so.
You'll just,
Did you see?
I'll just-
So I've got a list, yeah,
Okay.
right, and then Kent, you have a list too, right,
Yep.
don't you? So we can compile these lists to,
so if you
Great.
just want to give them, I did see all those
Yeah, at the
posts
end
on
of Santa, we
Facebook.
can check them.
yeah, I just wrote those
It's not
down.
in
so
nice.
we'll see.
Yeah,
Great. Any other discussion on the location spreadsheet for the returning yards. This is great. The more, the better, I think, that we can selectively choose, because Steve and I spoke about what the places need to look like as far as setback from the street, setback from the sidewalk, and then beyond would be potentially parks. So,
Is he writing policy for this, do you know? I
don't
think he might have talked about, you know what I mean, because usually you try to have a kind of a policy with regards to art and things in the right of way.
What we had discussed was, we compile a locations list, photos would be advantageous. And then we give those to him, and we're talking about a 5 by 5 foot square
Yeah.
with 4-inch thick, with an 8-inch packed gravel. And if he's able to put it in there, and as long as the sculptures aren't overhanging that 5 by 5
Yep.
foot section, and if they are, like he needs to know about them, then I think he's flexible.
Who's Steve Grenier?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now with public art, we're not just talking statues and stuff, right?
It's primarily going to be freestanding
Something
sculptures.
solid you
Okay.
can place
Yeah.
on that.
But that's not open to interpretation. Maybe we want to put up like an 8 foot tall by 4 foot wide, sheeting.
Of course, we're talking about revolving art now.
Yeah, this is the
Right,
rotating arts
rotating.
program.
You know, I had a comment on the Facebook post about inside or outside. I'm like,
No, we had talked about
You know,
that.
Yeah, we
right,
did,
so I was
yeah.
thinking,
Because
you know,
if-
I was thinking
I
outside
thought
in
we-
my head.
yeah.
I did.
Well, I'm always outside.
If inside means that it is, like, here at City Hall,
Yeah.
first floor, county building, any
Courthouse,
place
whatever.
where someone can easily go without any kind of
Right.
barrier, like a school, you have to sign in, you have to get a background
Right.
check. Schreiber, you have to sign in,
Right.
you have to have an employee coming down and get
KI.
you.
Convention center.
Yeah, you can,
Area rotundas and.
can you walk in there when there's nothing going on?
I don't know.
No,
They lock the door.
they lock
Do
the
they?
doors.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but the rotunda is visible, even though it's inside, it's so much glass, it's visible. So we did talk about that. That
Oh,
has to
okay.
be easily
It could be, yep.
accessible or even visible.
All of the things I have are outside.
In the rotunda.
Yeah. All of the suggestions I
artist
have
now?
is the outside.
I think,
Thought we
yeah,
had that.
definitely for the implementation of the structures, that would be all exterior.
Or maybe for our first 3.
Yeah,
It's where we take the low-hanging fruit and find the easy spots to,
Yeah.
right.
And then, there's also like installations too that are, that can, like for example, in that very tree, covered park. So
Yep.
like I remember in Germany, there was an artist who had these strings that went from tree to tree. And there were like
Oh.
these birds that would grow
Oh.
in size, but
Yeah.
there's metal birds.
Right.
So in that case, it could take all
Which
together.
sounds way cool,
A
right?
Yeah.
big metal bird would
No,
grow.
so it was lines, so it's just a cutout of a bird, and as you walk, the bird would change and grow.
Oh,
And then so as you walk
Through
around
it
and you
would-
followed it, it
Ah.
would change its form. That's the same bird.
I don't know if I like going for a park and getting the bird.
You had to rein that in.
But that's the
A little bit scary.
type of installation that I think we could endorse. I don't think that'd
It would
be
be
part of the wrap, but
Yeah,
that's totally a cool idea.
right, but if it wouldn't be a location, it could definitely be for the wrap.
Right.
It could be one for,
But wouldn't that be a permanent?
yeah, it
No.
has to be permanent.
Wait,
No,
what?
that's
Otherwise, it
there.
can't grow.
Oh, I see
Right.
what you're saying.
No, the
I think
bird.
it's a
The
victim.
birds, whatever.
The bird is not a real bird, it's a metal bird.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
just
but-
an art installation that just changes, but it,
Oh, it could change.
but it's there, it doesn't.
You could have different birds.
So, here's the other thing too. So, the overpass in Millennium Park where it's, the overpass itself is a sculpture.
Yeah.
So, and this is, I think for the minutes, this is something that, this is a larger scale issue, much beyond the rotating art program. But I think we should also keep in mind that the public works itself, not making Steve nervous, can be sculptural, can be art in and
Right.
of itself.
Absolutely.
So,
But what if someone wants to think outside the box, and they do want to have a pad, they do want to pitch for a pad, but it's basically artwork around that spot, or does it have to be constrained
It's all,
to
you know what,
that
it's all gonna be
specific pad?
dependent on location. Because if it's in the
Right.
right of way,
Mhm.
it's more than likely there's not gonna be trees like that in the right of way.
That's
Right.
true.
Do you know what I mean? So,
Parks,
But
the department would have to
parks
take
might
that
be a
up.
better
And that'd be
fit.
on a case-by-case basis.
Mhm.
And so that could be used there.
maybe what we can do is when we whittle down the sites we like,
Mhm.
one of them might, maybe we say we'd like this sculptural
Mhm.
installation on two of them, and one of them we open it up
Oh,
to
because it
the
has a
area,
possibility.
or because maybe this site's at a
That's
park,
interesting, yeah.
and there's more flexibility for how it could work.
Well, and then the other thing too is, let's remember after the Twin Towers came down, a couple years afterward, there were those two light beams,
Yeah.
right? So that's art,
It is.
Yeah.
and it's light beams.
Mhm.
So I think we should be open to something that isn't actually
Physical.
tangible, right?
Well, but on the other hand, I want to get 3 of them done.
I agree
in the
with you.
ground in summer, and I think
I
probably the
agree.
easiest way to
Is
do it would be
sculpture.
just a sculptural installation,
I'd
at least
even
for the
be-
first
That's
three.
right.
Right.
Those are
You know what I mean?
case-by-case.
You saying lights aren't
installations.
easy?
No, I don't think they would be.
Because
they're
it
gonna
needs
have
lighting,
power.
it needs, right, I mean,
Oh,
there's,
solar.
You're gonna have to run.
They
well,
could be.
do.
but then
See, I
it'd
think
have
it's-
to be winter,
Resistant.
resistant.
Well, and you could do it solar, I mean, as long as the installation is fit our like 5x5, and it was, you know what I mean, and it was a solar application that could be.
So Cheryl, are you saying that we should really focus on finding at least 3 locations by the summer that we can have concrete footings put in?
I think we
I
should,
think so.
because we want to get
That is
3
the
in
goal.
right away, right?
Concrete footings
At
Okay.
least
this
the
year.
start for 3, and then we can go crazy.
Yeah,
Yep.
let's shoot for, I thought we were like kind of waffling for this 2017.
Well, it's in the,
3-5.
it's in the
Internal.
rotating art program
Right.
description draft that I sent you, where we had talked about some things, and we can go over that and then keep going.
Okay, sure.
But for
Okay.
this list, do you want to, because you have your list, I'll give Celestine this list if you want to have.
Yeah, I want to have it
Ladies in
because
front
Digital?
compile it.
I need to put it on here.
To put it
Should
on
I
there.
just copy mine, Celestine, and send it to you?
Yes,
Okay.
that'd be fine.
And then should we, do you think we should like rank our top 5 as a committee
Sure.
and get it, you know what I mean? So maybe we can try to whittle it down, the ones we like?
Sure.
or-
That's a
To
great
try to
idea.
figure out a
Can we
way
do
to
that
get-
on our own time? Like, just-
Well, yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you could send that out to us and then we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or.
I don't know about if I quite like that.
I'm just trying to figure out a way to get,
Because
to
then-
get it down
I
to
like that.
How
a
do we-
manageable number.
How do we rank it? Isn't ranking something that it should be out in the open if we're just doing it via email? I'm not sure if I.
Oh, no, just send the
The only difference
list.
would be if you,
Oh, just send a list and then we discuss it the next time. Fine.
Yeah, we can
Well,
think
'cause
about it, come
otherwise-
in and give our
Fine.
5.
Nope.
right, you
Fine.
know what I mean?
Got it.
Because we're gonna get the list and,
I didn't know what you meant.
so I'm just
Sounds
trying to
good.
whittle this list down,
It's a great idea,
you know
let's
what
do
I mean,
it.
to get at least.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any
that's
other
fine.
discussion on the rotating arts location spreadsheet? Then we'll start with our new business. We all got the description for the arts coordinator, so this is not discussion, this is just approval of the job description.
Yes, this is approval. There's a few, I had sent this to Ann Katz.
We can have discussion, can't we?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can.
we-
Okay.
Well, I mean, when I say approval, the
end goal should be
But
approval.
the
Oh,
end
yeah,
goal
yeah.
is
There'll be
approval.
action here.
That's.
Is there a difference between discussion and possible action and approval?
Yeah, because the only difference is that the end goal is we need to approve this today.
Okay.
And, with possible action, I think leaves it a little bit more open. I think that we were close enough with everything that we had discussed to actually approve this today.
Possible action, we could always hold it or whatever.
Yep. I mean, really.
Either one works,
there's
I mean,
no
it's.
Yeah,
big
you can-
difference.
we could
No difference. right.
But I just I think we need to get going.
Okay, so we all have it, what do we think?
So I had a chance to talk to Ann Katz from Arts Wisconsin, and she had a few suggestions for us, which I just lost because I put my thing. So as you can see at the top, there is, department, mayor's office, reports to the chief of staff. She thought those were 2 good things. That way it gives, the mayor's office gives the position the breadth that it needs.
So she's reporting directly to you?
Correct, he or she.
Right, because, the chief of staff is the staff person for the PDC, so that would make.
Right now, yeah, until this person.
Until this
is.
person takes
Right.
over, right?
Mhm.
You're leaving us?
But we need to have this person report
Yeah.
to someone
Yes.
This
internally.
is always, we need that
Yeah.
from the staff.
Yeah. And then I would still be here, but
Oh.
it would be the coordinator's job, me or whoever. Then she also suggested that we add after, so does everybody agree? Or is there any other department or reporting structure that you think would be better?
I feel like the PAC comes out of the mayor's office, and that would make sense to have a report to the mayor's office.
And Madison's functions under the economic and community development.
Yes.
And most of them do.
Mhm.
And I think that makes more sense to me,
Mhm.
because I think those two things are so intertwined.
And I suppose the mayor changes every
Yeah.
4 years, or
It's a little bit
maybe
more
not, but
consistent.
you know what I mean? It's,
Mhm.
there's changes in that.
So then if it was to come out of community and economic development, then Cheryl, where would it go?
Well, I need to talk to Director Bonk and see where we'd want that to land. I'm thinking probably neighborhoods, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Neighborhood division?
Yeah.
That's true.
Maybe.
This is public art. It's
Public
in the
art, neighborhoods might be the best fit.
That sounds good to me. That's
A little bit more
traditionally, that's
accessible,
how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So reports
Community-based.
to
Yeah.
community and economic development and the neighborhood division. And of course, this is something, once we go through this, then I need to run this by the mayor again to see what he says.
Right.
Okay.
And as Cheryl said, Kevin, to see if this is something that he wants to take on, and then then we can say, yeah, so.
So we won't approve today.
Well, we can approve what we say we want.
The job description.
And then, you know, if I need to tweak it, especially regarding this department and
So
reporting
it
structure.
would stay in the mayor's budget? Or is it gonna go on the table of organization in the mayor's budget?
So,
That's the, I mean, that's the question.
Because this
That
is.
Director Bonk will ask, is
Yeah.
this the position I'm gonna need to fight for funding for every year?
Yep.
As part of this department,
Yep.
or?
Yeah, it's a
You know
good
what I'm
question,
saying,
because right
so-
now, we don't really have a running budget. I
Right.
mean,
We will,
We will.
yeah, because
Yeah.
we have $100,000 from the stadium tax.
No,
And
75.
70, oh, is it 75?
Yeah, I tried to,
Was it
You did a great job, but.
No,
$75,000, sorry, from the
But that's
stadium
It's
tax.
a grant.
And it is. And then there needs to be more grants.
Fundraising.
But,
Well,
so
and
we're gonna,
fundraising.
we're gonna seek funding also through the city, like just to pay for it?
Not,
That is see, that's the question that I
Not
think
right
Director
now.
Bonk is gonna say, well, now is this another position that I need to fight for in my budget when
Yeah.
I'm fighting for other positions?
Mhm.
Well,
GIS
one
and
of the-
those types of things, do you know what I mean? So that's a consideration with regards to where it lies. in
But
the-
technically, the way we're functioning now, he wouldn't have to, because we've made our own money. And moving forward, we have to
Mhm.
decide if we want to keep doing it that way,
Right,
or if we want to try to get ourselves within the budget, the overall budget.
Right.
Why not?
then
Can't
that's
we
the
do both?
point. And that's
Correct.
what Cheryl's saying, that
Yeah, I
then
got it.
Kevin or anybody else would have to say, you know, I need to keep this position and I need these other people.
Right, so what do we think we should do? Do we want to try to go for that, or should we just try to maintain our independence
I think
financially?
we should take as much money as we can wherever we can get it.
Yeah,
agree.
the way that
Well,
this,
that's
the way that the
another-
mayor conceived of this was financially independent
Yeah.
Okay.
of the
city
city's
and,
levy.
And we
Yeah.
talked about implementing some type of small tax also for this.
That would be a county and state issue. The city does not cannot create its own tax.
City cannot create its own tax.
No, the county can,
Okay.
but the city cannot.
so this position is,
Yeah.
so what's the, okay, so we'll
We
hire
need to
this
change the
position,
county
what's the
board.
cost? The
Oh,
first
right.
year to this position at $20 an hour, you're gonna need
So-
$60,000 in salary?
So this is
More
not,
than that.
Part-time, 20 hours.
It's
Oh, so you'll need
Right.
30,000?
so it would be,
It was,
it would be 20,000.
So 20,000,
40
so that will,
hours.
so 20,000 will come out of the 75, we're
Correct.
thinking? And then 20,000 next year out of the 75?
Well, that,
Hopefully
there
fun-
needs to be the
I'm just,
fundraising.
realistically speaking,
Yeah.
fundraising takes a while.
Mhm, it does.
You wanna keep the person employed
Yeah.
through the process, so.
Well, one way or the other,
We'll need
either
to
the
keep that
mayor's
in mind.
office or economic and
Yeah.
community development is going to have to pay for something potentially. But I think, obviously, I think we all agree that's money well spent, and we can fight for that in whatever regard.
Well-
And this person's going to be doing fundraising,
Right.
so.
Well, it wouldn't be, it'd be the director who'd be doing the, see, we're putting a burden
Yeah.
on, we're putting a burden on.
especially because we're moving it out of the mayor's office,
Yes.
right? So by doing that, we're saying now this other department has to be responsible. In essence, without that person here,
Yeah, right, that's
saying,
fine.
I'll take it.
Okay.
We
So-
need to have that discussion with Director Bonk and
To see if
the
the
mayor's
mayor
office
will
to see
take
where we'll
responsibility.
physically place the position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who's gonna oversee it? We're gonna
But let me
physically
just
place
say
that.
that even though other arts coordinators and administrators are in the development department, Ann Katz thought
commissioners, yeah.
Ann Katz thought it was a good idea for it to be in the mayor's office and
Did she?
report to the chief. She did,
Why did
yes.
she say that?
Because she felt it would give it the weight that it needed in order to get going.
That makes sense.
That is what she said.
In what form would that weight come from? I'm don't
Politically
understand.
support of the mayor's
Yeah.
office, support of the city. I'm thinking that's
Yeah.
maybe the way.
But I think,
Yeah.
but, you know, Kent,
And
you
the-
make an excellent point that in
And the
other
connections
communities,
he
that's
would
what they do.
have that could direct things toward us.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I think we're doing pretty good
The office.
for ourselves right now. And like the reason that they're,
But we're operating out of the mayor's office.
Right.
yeah, but all due respect, I wrote all the all the grant applications and we're doing pretty good there. I mean, so.
But the mayor pushed for that, Kent.
mm,
Pushed for the 75. He absolutely did.
Okay, well, if it stays in the mayor's office, it stays in.
Why do
fine.
they have it in the planning, why, do you know why the
Yeah.
other?
Because it's a neighborhood type of,
And citywide, and it
Yeah.
deals with zoning, and the planning
So
department and
it's-
community
they're right
development.
there in the
Yeah,
thick of
it
it.
makes a lot of
community
sense.
development is the primary function of public arts.
So,
commissions.
but wouldn't the mayor's beautification committee perhaps be,
But that's the
If you're-
mayor's beautification.
right, that's what I mean.
It's actually called the mayor's beautification.
Right, so if we're looking, I mean, couldn't that function in a way as sort of the same way as the neighborhood?
I'm not quite sure what the mayor's beautification committee does. I think
Well, they
nominate-
need a mission. As I
I don't know if I
understand it.
want to cloud up
Well,
that
I-
commission with this one.
We will not be combining those two.
Okay.
I'll just say that flat out.
Alright.
I don't know if that's a good idea, but I think we can approve a job description.
Sure.
Yeah, let's,
But we can talk to Director Bonk, we can
Allocated.
talk to the mayor, and see
Yep.
what their thoughts are on
Yep.
this.
So that'll happen in the interim between now and next meeting?
correct.
I can talk to him today.
And I'll talk, you know, the mayor is fine with the way it is, but we'll talk.
Yeah.
So then the other things that Ann Katz added, after, in the job summary, it says, performs a variety of work related to the city's involvement with arts, and then she added public art, creative economy, and creative placemaking.
So that's not on here.
No, because this, I got this after,
After the fact.
So
after
say
the
that
fact.
again. I was
Sure.
trying to read that here.
So she added after arts,
Okay.
she added public art, because we
Okay.
didn't actually have public art in there.
Mhm.
Creative economy, and creative economy.
Okay, explain that to me.
So the creative economy, you know that Richard Florida book? So basically, what the creative economy is where you have money-making, job creation around creative endeavors like writing, like making art, like drama, theater, like musical performances.
Presents a
And
revenue
that-
to the municipality type of a situation?
And it also just helps to make a place be seen as creative.
Gotcha.
And so then that just,
Placemaking.
and then that leads into creative placemaking.
Gotcha.
Which actually I thought was interesting.
I like that a lot.
Yep.
Okay, so does everybody agree that we'll add that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then,
Well,
she
Wait,
had,
we're good?
Okay, so,
Yes.
It's a
so
big
do you
job.
think that's a very wide and broad scope
Mhm.
for one person to be able, and especially a.
It is
I was
very
just
wide
gonna
and
say,
broad.
wow, that's quite a,
That's big.
that's
That
quite
is-
a job.
That
Yeah.
is a heavy,
It
heavy,
is.
I mean, there are organizations, multiple organizations in the city that take on that responsibility, and to ask one person to take on that kind of, they're all really good buzzwords.
Yeah, they are.
I just wonder if they're relevant in this specific position.
Well,
if-
what we could
For a,
do,
for a
I
job
don't think that
summary.
it's on their
anyway for
shoulders to
HR.
to impact the creative economy directly, but to
Mm.
support and expand, like work towards that, you know?
Perhaps.
I think there's
That's
maybe an
a-
element that it could work. I wouldn't measure that as part of their being
Yeah,
successful on the
success,
job
yeah.
position, but it's definitely something that they're
Would that be
advocating and moving
Would that be
for.
considered all aspects of the arts program?
I wonder if it's more like,
Of a-
that would be
Part of the arts
something,
program.
yeah, that
Yeah.
the Green Bay Arts Commission, this is what we stand for.
I like that
And everyone
wordage,
within
the
it
verbiage.
tries
though.
to
That's
do
really
it.
good. Can you repeat that one more time? so I can write it
Absolutely.
down?
I think that, okay, so I'll read the entire,
What essential function are you under right?
Job
She's in
summary.
the job summary.
A job summary. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you know, not the essential functions,
Okay.
no, no, no.
So the
Okay.
first line with the arts.
Correct. Performs, I'm starting at the beginning, performs a variety of work relating to the city's involvement with the arts, public art, creative economy, and creative placemaking.
Okay.
So I think the producer makes a really excellent point. I think we need to put public art in there because.
I think that's a really good one.
Put it in there?
However, I
So we're gonna
feel
keep
like
that, check.
that those last two, definitely the last one, is a little bit like.
Great
Big.
placemaking.
Yeah, because placemaking is something that you can't actually, it's something that sort of just happens. It's not something that you can make happen.
So but then
Oh,
taking
this
what Matt
body does
said,
that.
Yeah.
Those are big concepts.
maybe
that
we say,
do.
and
Yeah.
supports the creative economy?
Yes.
That's what
that
Matt said.
Would work.
Do you want to leave out creative
I
placemaking?
think that might be a little bit of a tall.
What does everybody else think?
That sounds appropriate, and we could put that into our, kind of, our business plan and our overall, because those are
Yeah.
great, that's great verbiage, and I think
Right.
it really gets at the heart of what we're trying to do with the
Yeah.
GBC.
So if you want to then put creative I actually like the idea of creative placemaking, especially when we're talking about neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
So let's keep supportive, so what you're saying is keep public art, keep
Yes.
supports creative economy, move creative placemaking to
To
the
the-
description of the rotating arts program.
Yeah.
Is that what everybody
Yep.
thinks? Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. Okay, then she had a couple of like,
Add-ons.
yeah, just like grammatical things. Under 7, essential functions, she says, once again, manages the public arts grant programs, I should say, plural. Then, under 9, serves as an advisor to staff and elected officials in areas such as visual enhancement in public spaces and buildings.
Oh.
Yeah. Thought that was good?
You know why, it's good to keep defining the public art aspect of this position,
Mhm.
because art's,
It's so broad. Yeah. It's
you
huge.
know, and all of a sudden, Matt's calling this person up and saying, hey, I got this. That's great, but no, that's.
But you got
It is the potential of,
What?
Yeah, we need
Sticker.
that one. We're not cool enough.
I got some more for you.
but you know what I mean, this person
Yeah,
could really be,
well.
I see that with neighborhoods sometimes too, where people are drawn out of their jobs.
Right.
It's like cool
Right.
projects,
Right.
so I think that's good to keep.
Okay.
in there.
Then we're in knowledge, skills, and abilities. She added,
Can maybe.
and I'll just read what she added. Knowledge of arts, and she added and administrative instead of administration. Then she added trends, issues, and procedures. So that's kind
What?
of, yeah.
Read that, so read it.
Sounds like a rock.
Blackboard? No. Knowledge of arts and administrative trends, issues, and procedures.
Okay.
I'll read it one more time. Knowledge of arts and administrative trends, issues, and procedures. That makes a lot of sense.
What are administrative trends?
Yeah, so, Ellen, I have
PowerPoint
an email
versus-
into Ellen Rosewall at
Yeah.
UWGB, and
Yeah.
she like wrote the book on
Yeah.
arts management.
She's at the art garage.
Yeah, so that is what NCATS is talking about. Like,
Huh.
what do arts administrators, well, this is coordinator for now,
Sure.
hoping it'll be an administrator later, but, what do
Yeah.
they do? Like, what are the trends? What's
Keeping
cool?
up
Got
with
it.
the Joneses, that's
Yep,
good.
yep. And then, she added social media, which we didn't put.
Yeah.
So at the bottom of knowledge, skills, and abilities, knowledge of and ability to proficiently utilize computer and social media. We didn't put that.
I think that's relevant.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not in here.
And then, like I
I
said,
think
one
that's-
grammatical
Well, it says
thing.
in here, knowledge of and ability to proficiently utilize a computer.
Yeah, but
Very
we
solid.
didn't have social media.
In particular, like
Oh.
Facebook.
Gotcha.
And that was it. So, sorry, like I said, this is kind of a late addition. I wanted to make sure that she had a look, two eyes
Did
on it.
HR approve this then?
Yes,
Okay.
the HR wrote this.
No, I mean the changes that you made.
Oh, no, I wanted to go by us first, and
Okay,
I'm
gotcha.
sure HR will approve
I
it.
like it, I think it's good.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
Yeah.
so just to recap, we still are gonna be wondering about who it reports to and what department it's in.
Other than that, is this in the, so how is this set up? Is it like a part-time 20, how many hours a week? Up to
20.
29 or 20?
No, 20.
20, okay.
Because I want to keep that dollar amount reasonable so that it gives everybody time to raise money and we're not, you
Right.
know, fritting away our $75,000, which I thought was 100, but yes, $75,000.
Oh, I have one question.
Yes.
It's not up to 20 hours, it's required 20 hours, right? It's 20
It
hours.
is 20
It's
hours.
20 hours a
week.
That is correct.
Sometimes our part-time employees have the ability to work up to 29.
Right.
They
Oh.
can't reach that 30 threshold, but it changes
Then you have to get
benefits and whatnot.
Right.
So
Well-
I just didn't know if we had that flexibility. It sounds like 20 hours.
20 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's 21?
So, okay, so then we're gonna keep public art, and then we're gonna put supports creative economy, and put creative placemaking to rotating art. In number 7, we're going to manages of public arts programs. In number 9, we're going to add in public spaces and buildings after enhancements. In knowledge, skills, and ability, we're going to add, babe, I'm gonna read the sentence. Knowledge of arts and administrative trends, issues, and procedures. It's a sentence fragment. And we're gonna add social media.
Social media.
Yeah.
Yep. Motion
Okay.
to approve the job description?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Okay.
Motion passes. So, we're on item number 2,
Oh, good,
discuss
thank you.
with possible action on draft GBPAC rotating arts program description. Okay, so we have Celestine's most edited version, right?
Oh, right.
Okay, so it looks like, are we on criteria for selecting rotating arts locations?
Yes, we are. And does everybody agree with what I've, as you can see, I show you the
Yeah.
changes that I made? So any corrections to the changes that I currently have?
Nope. This is pretty much what we talked about.
Yeah, it is, yeah, but I just want to make sure I captured what
Yep,
everybody
you did.
said. Okay.
Very well. Okay, then what criteria do we use for selecting locations of rotating art?
Right.
So I think it's highly visible, that's the thing that we were talking about, but I don't know if we need to dig that back up.
And this is actually, what I meant by this was to say, what criteria do we use in these locations to select them? So I'm assuming that parks and neighborhoods are slightly different, like we would want something different. And if we're gonna select a position in a place in a park, where would we want it versus a neighborhood, right? Maybe you want a quiet place in
Neighborhood
a
is
park.
an innocuous word.
It is, very
Like, I think if
much,
you're thinking about where we're gonna place art, you need to be specific on the site,
right?
right?
That's
Like, you can't
kinda what I
say
was
place it in a
thinking.
neighborhood, parks are neighborhoods,
They are.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
But-
I think
So
most of
see-
the neighborhood associations are probably gonna think of parks.
But then you,
And they're
but
just
you
gonna
see,
gravitate to
but
it.
you see where I put
Places.
CDBG and underserved,
Right.
right? So do we want to give greater weight to those neighborhoods that are in CDBG eligible census tracts or are underserved?
If you get a block grant, you will have to,
Right.
if that's approved.
Or do we want to put more emphasis on, we will have brand-new neighborhoods in the next, well, we're always making new neighborhoods, but like, you know, eastward, there'll be
Mhm.
new subdivisions. Do we want to give weight to that because they're new and, quite frankly, sometimes a little cookie cutter is how it needs to be?
Yeah.
And
Pretty?
I agree.
how's a neighborhood, an underserved neighborhood determined? What
It's
determines a
determined, HUD determines it by
Yeah.
census tract and income.
Ah,
So it's low to moderate income, which is below 80% of median income. It's all census tract, so I have a map I should
I
have.
don't like the word undeserved.
Underserved.
Underserved.
Not undeserved.
Yeah.
It's not 19th century.
That's what I meant to say. I meant to say underserved.
Gotcha, right.
Because we might be servicing them a lot.
No, they might, well, some of these areas become forgotten, only because other areas become more important, like downtown is super important right now.
Mhm.
That means one little corner of, where I get my map out,
So
Old
are you
Lawrence or
saying,
something.
Celestine, that we should
like
kind
three
of
corners,
discuss,
gets forgotten.
like which ones deserve priority right now?
I think right now, that's a really good question. I think right now, we should say, what are the criteria where we would, what's our like penultimate place in a park?
Mhm.
What does that look like? And how would we select a place in a park?
I think in selecting parks, let's take a look at our list that we're coming up with, and let's just use that as an objective parameter
It's a
for now. And then we can take these things into consideration while we're looking at that list.
designated that.
Does that
I
make
mean,
sense?
right now for this program, we've defined a 5x5
We have.
slab, public view,
So that
publicly
that limits.
accessible.
Mhm.
You know, so I don't know how much more at this point till we find a site, till we decide as a group what
Right.
3 sites we're gonna go after.
So-
We would define that differently than, depending where we are, right?
We say we want one in a park, one in a C,
DPG eligible census tract.
Mhm.
right, and then one in another location. We could say we could try to get one, that's our 3.
I wouldn't be in favor of that right now, just because we don't really know if those are gonna be good locations. If we have the potential of putting it
After the
there.
surveying?
After we look at that and we vet it out, maybe one fits in each, and maybe we can do it at that point.
Okay.
So
So we know.
certainly we want it to be highly visible or not. I mean, you could put art, like, okay, so there's a Japanese garden in Washington Park in the south side of Chicago. And it's very contemplative. You have to go to it.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
I think to start though,
Yeah. I think
Right, that-
we should
I'm
get
asking the
ball
question
rolling.
though.
right, to start, I think we really want to be out there.
In my
Okay.
opinion, I wanna blam, I want people to see it
So-
every day and
Yeah,
go,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
what's
But-
that?
Yeah.
I want to
I'm gonna
say.
pay attention at first.
We could revisit
That'd be my
that down the
opinion.
road, though.
So, but what
Yeah.
I'm hearing you say is that to start with, we want highly visible.
Yeah.
But open to, you know,
Obscure location.
So yeah,
Obscure
because if you
locations.
do a secure location, I think you can do a big publicity thing.
Sure.
You know, that could be a big PR
And
thing.
Barrett's Creek or, you know, something like that. get
Well, and I
into the
think
woods.
what would be helpful when we have the interns working on
Do a tree.
where the
Yes.
artwork is now in the
Yes.
city.
Right.
You know, where all the artwork is now, and you could actually do a walking tour of
Right.
art. Yes,
Yeah.
which
Like,
might not
Can't use your
be.
head.
Art.
So do we also
Yeah.
have a preference for private or public property, which is going to get in our discussion about the right-of-way, which we're going to have in 1 second?
We were, well,
What did you, unfortunately, I missed the conversation about the list, so.
there's, I think we were just discussing public property.
We were talking public just because, otherwise we're gonna have to, and we've done art on other, we're gonna do easements.
Yeah.
We'll have to do legal easements, and then those easements, I'm sure, are gonna have some riders in it if I sell my house, or, you know, that kind of stuff. So maybe to start out with, we should try to get public
Public,
spots, so
right.
they're
Okay.
there at least for a
Probably
year.
should stay on the list.
Okay, so
But,
preference for public spots.
Right.
And then this gets to the right-of-way. So just so that everyone is understanding, the right-of-way is not a foregone conclusion simply because the city owns it. And any sites would have to be, of course, and make sure everybody knows that all these sites would need to be approved by some committee and some.
Well, that's parks
and
too,
then-
though, that's not just
No
right
doubt.
of way.
No doubt.
Any public space has to
Any
be
public
approved.
space has to be approved by that committee
And the council.
and then the council.
So we have to go
So-
through multiple committees
Well,
besides our own?
In our government, that's how
it's gonna have to go through parks or INS and then
Of course,
council for approval.
it's not the.
Or we're gonna have to do both?
Yeah, they would. Unless there's, well, I don't know how, unless there's.
That's a lot of, that's gonna take a while.
Just for
The
perspective.
you know what, the council would have to make a determination, I think, to say that we don't want to see every artwork, we're gonna let the park committee make a final
How can we do
determination.
Yeah,
that?
I think that'd
How
be a
can we make
good-
that happen?
That would be something we'd have
That
to
Yeah.
would make what happen?
What he
have
just
the
said.
parks, like, if we decide to go with parks, have the park committee be able to have the final say in it.
The
We could-
council would
we
have to
could-
give
Council would
Parks
have to
Committee
direct that.
the ability to give final
Say,
say.
yeah.
Right.
And they could.
I would love to see that happen. That'd be a huge step for public art.
It would just save us, it would save us.
That'd be
yeah.
progress.
Right, right.
That'd be eliminating this giant.
But if it's gotta go
cement
through public, it's gotta go through parks and INS,
No, it would not have to go through.
Oh,
Parks
either
and
or.
INS.
It's,
Right.
it's either or, Randy.
okay.
But
Or the
we-
RDA,
the-
or.
Right, whoever owns the land.
Right, whoever owns the
The
land.
Fox River Trail, we got a permission from the Parks Committee to make a final call on those pieces on the trail. So we went to the parks and they said yea or nay, didn't get approval through council for each piece.
Right, right,
So,
right. I'm just trying to figure out if it's gonna be different committees, how would we word that? As a,
yeah.
That's great, though. Sure,
Let's
that
find
you're
out our
interested in-
spots. Let's find out, maybe they're all parks. And if they are, we can maybe ask the park committee,
Yeah, maybe.
run it through council and get council approval for that.
So the ultimate goal would be for the council to give final approval
To whatever committee.
for the sites, not for the art.
No,
Right.
Well,
no,
we can do it for
no.
the art also,
This-
though.
The art.
The art and the
The art,
sites.
the Parks Committee approved the artwork for
So-
the Fox River Trail.
Let's go back.
That's how the government works in Milwaukee, and they streamline tons of stuff.
Sure. I will have to ask if,
That's
How that-
possible.
how that intersects with the ordinances as written.
Okay.
Because the ordinance as written is approved by the council, is that what we do is.
But no,
advisory.
that's fine, because the council, if that is council approval. If the council, I
Very
think,
true.
you know, so it's a
Touche.
decision by the council to do that. So the council is giving the final say. It's
They're
saying,
giving it to the Parks Committee.
right, yeah, it's delegating,
Potentially.
it's delegating.
Yeah.
So I don't
That
think
would
we
be up
have
to
to.
the council
Yeah,
to decide
For
that.
Yeah.
sites.
council's still in control.
Art.
That
Yep.
is-
Council
Okay,
can do that or
so,
not.
this, just to let you know though, this still would have to go, in order for it to float to the committee, so we're in the universe where each committee would have a final approval, where the committee itself would have final approval for the space and the art, which is kind of a two-step process, since we have to get spaces before we get art, but in any case. And that would make sense too if it's a rotating art program, and if we're doing, what did I say, 3-4-3? What did we say, I should say, what did I write? 3-4-3, 3 and 17, 5 and 18, and 3 and 19, so that's,
Oh, this is the thing,
yes,
okay.
so 3-5-3.
Well, we talked about 3 to 5 first, I didn't remember reaching a conclusion on that.
We did say 3 to 5, and I picked 3.
I'd like it to be 10.
It's not going to be.
I'd like it to be more than 3.
For the 2017,
Yeah,
it's not going to be.
I think, well,
I
I
mean,
think that's
I
underwhelming
think-
to have 3.
But-
But if once we hit 3, we can certainly go more.
Yeah.
We don't want to set ourselves up for failure.
Yeah.
We have.
If we hit 5, if we say 5, we don't hit 5.
If I'm
that's-
alone
Set it
with
low
this.
and
We discussed, you know what, we
That's
beat this
fine.
horse at the last committee meeting.
Yes.
About this. We said that we agree we all want
Okay.
more, but I think we were gonna do 3.
The outward
And then if we do
facing
more,
was.
great.
Yeah, I
aim
mean,
low
we
and
won't
exceed
stop them, we
the-
Yeah,
get 3.
that's
Or you
right.
can have
If
an
we
high
get
goal,
to 3,
but-
we got time, we'll do more.
Okay, if we can take that stance, then fine, I don't want us to like sit.
Oh, no,
back and
no,
watch
we're
it.
gonna be aggressive and get out there.
No, no, no.
as
This is a
many as
matter
we
of
can.
like setting goals that are achievable from the outside perspective, and not to be like, we're gonna do all this stuff and then
And
fall
then we don't
short.
do it.
Agreed,
It's gonna be
but we have a
bad.
difference of what I think we're able to achieve.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
think we may be
Internally.
able to
Internally,
achieve
yeah, internally, I
10.
hope we can do 10.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
I agree.
But what I'm saying is, so 3-5-3, that's 11 in 3 years. So that means 11, and if we have one.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, because remember, it's not 11 pieces of art, right? So the second year, we've got 5 plus 3, because we gotta get 5 new spaces, 5 pieces of art, plus 3 new spaces for the ones that we did the year before. So it would be good to get the committees to give
Sure.
final say to the
Okay.
art
Now,
pieces.
when we're rotating the art, is, I don't
Oh, I
remember if
didn't-
we
actually,
said,
we didn't say
if
it
it's at
here.
one
That's
spot,
out of my
can
head.
it go then to another spot, or is it just
No.
de-sessioned and,
I don't
Um,
think the art is rotating, I think
but could it?
I think it could. I mean, if there's nothing lined up and we're in a tough spot, there's no reason it can't.
well,
Yeah.
Well, even if it's, I mean, what if it's a, you know, what if it's something like it?
Then buy it. Yeah, so we'll buy it,
Permanently install it.
What if we're really, really poor?
Installment plans.
Installment plans.
They exist, that's right.
could the, rotating, so then does the artist have to reapply for another location?
So
Once their
let's,
term is up on one?
Oh, yeah,
um,
yeah.
Probably.
Because I mean, if you got something on the
They
east
then-
side,
I
and
think
then
so.
it goes to the west side, I
And
mean, is
then
that,
do they then, so then
that
financially,
necessarily-
how do they get rewarded the second time around?
they,
I think they'd have to just reapply and then they'd re-get the funds.
why would we give them more money?
Well,
See, now
because
we
they're
have
gonna
the
transfer the
conversations.
location, they have to reinstall it. The funding is to install.
Not to create.
No, we're not commissioning artworks, we talked about that money going towards installation.
So it's only
Fees.
for installation, so then really, then that's okay,
Do
right?
we all know what
Because-
we're talking about, what Celestine and I talked about?
I'm not
Well, we
sure.
haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys don't know what we're referring to then?
No.
It makes sense, though.
It's a $300?
Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, so
So
we should
let's-
just hold this
Okay,
conversation.
We're not
let's-
commissioning.
I would say
We're
let's
not paying the
get
art.
through. So, okay, so we are going to, just to
What
recap,
criteria do we want to move beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah, wait, and then so what types of places, oh, sorry.
What types of pieces are eligible for the program?
Pieces are eligible.
Visual,
We're gonna have that conversation.
I think we are.
what types
should.
of pieces?
We're jumping forward there?
Want to jump forward? That's fine.
Okay.
Well, we can't jump forward, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Jump
So
forward.
Pooja posed a question, what would happen if a piece needs to be, or would like to be relocated in the area? Do they have to reapply, and will they receive extra funding for that relocation?
Well, is this a road, I thought we would be commissioning some art. I thought
That's
this
for the
wasn't
annual
just,
grants program. This is the rotating arts program.
so the
Project
rotating arts is
cost.
just gonna be the placement of the art.
Yes. And
You
it can
already
be-
have your piece.
That's
You already
right.
have your pieces,
That's
I
right.
wanna get it out for the public to
Exactly.
see, to buy, or just to see.
So, but here we go, but here I do have, if you go to the second to, well, I have more space in my pages, because I have room to write, but if it's basically the second to last above the,
What am I looking at here?
you're looking at this
That
one.
wasn't used, that, we didn't,
But not every-
that wasn't in
not
our
everything.
list.
Yep,
Our-
yeah,
no,
sure
it
was.
because I printed
Yep.
everything out. I wanna see what.
It's
The
this.
first page, Cheryl, has all the red scribbles on it.
It's this, yep,
Okay.
that's right.
That's
But like I said,
the-
mine's bigger, because I
Gotcha.
have to write.
In my mind, I was about to, you know what?
You should have printed that for me. I'm blinder than you are.
Okay, so basically where it says rotating art program grant. So this is a conversation that Kent and I had, and so let's have the conversation now. We can skip ahead, that's fine, no big deal. X stipend for existing art, X payment for new pieces. What part matching, maximum grant.
This is not what we talked about.
So, but, and then but, okay, sorry. I think that,
This is way more than what we talked about.
The
We
mo- oh,
talked
the
about
money?
Maximum grant being $300 for installation, because we're not commissioning pieces for the rotating arts. That's for the annual grants program.
so okay, Kent, I think I must have misunderstood you then.
Okay.
Because I was thinking that we would only pay a certain amount for existing pieces, not for new pieces. That's how I understood our conversation. So,
Okay.
but you go ahead.
So we have three different programs for the GBPAC. We have the annual grants program, we have the rotating arts program, and we have the endorsement package program kind of thing. The annual grants program will be the funding of new art projects and sculptures and murals. The rotating arts program, RAP, will be the installation of existing art pieces on a temporary basis throughout Green Bay with a potential $300 stipend, is what we talked about.
Okay.
For-
X,
to-
yeah, and I did say,
Just for
but I just
installation
said
and-
X
and
stipend for existing art.
installation.
Okay, so really with the rotating art, where it's a call to artists to say, you know, you have the opportunity to display your art.
That's right.
We'll provide 300 towards the installation of your piece,
And we'll provide a platform for you to sell your piece. That's the biggest incentive for the
which would be
artists.
like our website or
Mhm.
that type of thing,
Mhm.
okay.
And then we take 5% of that sale price, whatever it is, which is nothing.
Okay,
And so that's a way just to drive artists to throw in sculptures and.
is 300 enough for installation?
Yes,
Okay,
it is.
I mean, I have no idea.
It's really.
Concrete's the most expensive, which
that's-
we're paying for, the
That's
concrete
right.
pads. It's really the mounting and.
We are also-
So that's not included in the 300?
No,
Correct.
we are also
We're
paying
gonna
for
do
the
that.
maintenance of those pads and then the re-putting of concrete back into those pads, so.
So the
Right.
Holes are
upkeep
drilled.
and
Right, yeah.
maintenance.
We really won't, there will be very little maintenance
it's
on,
installed.
I've never had to maintain like an existing pad ever.
Yeah, we
Like,
didn't,
you
we
just
haven't done
re-drill a
that.
hole.
We haven't done that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what if you have
Don't you have to
10
fill the
years
holes?
from
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
you
That's-
have
that's
a
what I'm
bunch of holes
thinking.
in it?
Yeah, if you start to compromise the
I've never-
concrete at some point.
That's right, I
Yeah.
guess like in 20, 30 years, maybe we'll have to do some maintenance on it, but a concrete slab, if it's well done, and I talked to Steve, they will actually be doing the contracting to get it out in there. They're
Okay,
gonna
so
do it
Public Works will
properly.
install the slabs for us.
But they said they would,
Sweet.
yeah.
That's great, because then we'll be contracting.
But he will work.
Well, we'll pay for it.
He's solid with
We're gonna
that?
pay for it.
We're gonna pay
They'll-
for it. And the
They'll
way-
put it with their
What
contractors.
Steve
probably.
said is that he will vet the contractor process so that they'll get the lowest price for us. They don't
Right, because
actually
they have
do
huge,
the implementation.
DPW has huge concrete contracts.
Right.
When they do streets
Yeah.
and whatnot, so they can
So
save us money at least.
there will be minimal to no maintenance in the first 20 years of these concrete. We don't have to consider that really on the front, certainly today. I'm telling you, this is the experience that I have.
Okay.
So,
I don't agree with you.
I don't
That's
agree with
okay.
you either. I mean, I think if we're
What
drilling
if we
holes
have
in it,
7
I think
different
we need
types
to
of
make sure that we have money
Yeah.
set aside to maintain it.
That all need different anchors,
Yep.
Yeah.
okay, if,
over 7
if
years.
you
I mean,
wanna
we're
do
just
that,
gonna
that's
have to
fine. I'm telling you,
replace the-
Celestine, in my experience, you're not gonna run into that problem.
Will it look ugly when there's a bunch of holes
Yeah.
on there?
You barely even tell they're there. Like
Okay.
unless you walk right up to it, because you're looking at it at an angle, the holes are going straight down.
Ah,
And if we want, we can caulk the holes. That
Yeah,
costs
that's.
$5.
Yeah, well,
I think
Fill
our
them.
maintenance is maintenance,
Yeah.
whatever it is, we have to deal with it when it
Exactly.
happens.
we have to put
Yeah.
a line.
but
in the
back to
budget.
the issue of the X stipend. So Cheryl, what do you think about whether or not the Rotating Arts Program is for existing art only or for commissioning? And that would only be temporary. What do you think?
Well,
They
lay
keep it
out the
through.
lay out the money for me. We have $75,000, right?
Yes.
And out of
Minus
that, we
20?
need 20, we're taking 20 out for admin.
That's right.
Right? Okay, so that's 55, and of that 55, we'll have to pay for the pads,
Mhm.
however many pads we use for rotating art, right?
Well, the first year would be 3.
3, do we know what cost per pad?
Well, a slab,
Or
a
slab,
cake of
5 by 5?
concrete.
Steve, I asked him to give me an estimate a month ago.
Okay.
Hasn't gotten back.
He didn't have like a.
Okay, so
soft
a cake of concrete in a sidewalk is $150.
Okay.
That's not 5 by 5.
That's not the installation.
Well, that's not.
Maybe we'll give you a
That's-
pie instead of a cake.
If you, like a 5x5
Cheaper.
piece,
Yeah.
if I need to do it, I got an estimate for it, $400.
Okay, so that's not gonna be an expensive thing for us than the concrete. So how much are we thinking we're gonna put towards the actual purchasing of art and placement of art?
I think that's gonna be the majority. That's not just
Because-
the purchasing of art, that's the funding of projects, that's the entire annual grant
Okay,
program.
because I'm thinking like, when we, like, just however many years ago on the trail, those pieces were $10,000.
Yeah.
Plus, we paid for installation, you know what I mean? So that can be, I just wanted, like, I'm trying to figure out in my head where the money is laid out.
A little bit of background information on rotating arts programs. There's not a huge budget for them allocated
Mhm.
for it. It's typically, the fact that we're selling the work for the artists,
Right,
that's
right.
unique to us. They usually don't do that. But certainly.
Really?
That's true.
We bought our piece from Skokie, I think, the indicator on an art trail.
Yeah.
That was, we're like, hey, we want that.
And that's great,
Which is-
and I think that's huge incentive for participation, but like $300 is a very healthy amount for the installation.
For the installation cost.
And rotating our programs are almost always,
So this won't be expensive
Existing
for
art.
us.
Wouldn't the
No, it's
300
not.
for de-installation cover any kind of maintenance the pad might
we
need?
could, if you'd feel more comfortable, like putting that in the clause, you need to plug your holes with,
No.
Caulk, whatever?
No, I do not feel comfortable with that. No.
I'm just thinking we
You're-
would,
Because
let's
you-
just put a line item for maintenance. At
Yeah,
some point, if we
that's
need to
what
start
we need to do.
maintaining these pads, we'll have to go.
I would,
That was part of it.
I
Basically,
don't,
the whole
I will tell
GBPAC
you.
was maintenance and upkeep of public art. So
Right.
that's part of it that's already on
Okay.
GBPAC.
Mhm.
Right,
if
so,
that's what we want to do.
But maintenance of public art is not maintenance of the pad.
Correct.
That's
Well,
not
it can
actually
be.
part of the artwork.
well, if the
We're the
everyone's
reason
gonna
the pads are
fall.
going in.
Yeah.
The original conversation we had on budget, though, didn't include the maintenance of part of our clause was that we'd govern the maintenance. We did not say we'd pay for the maintenance.
No, I will tell you that we have to, let's see,
Like, we'd find contractors, we'd help the networking. We never said.
no,
we'd
we
pay
are
for
going
it.
to pay for this.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so wait, let me see. Consult, coordinate,
That's not
promote,
what we talked about.
design. No, Kent, this commission, another budget from another department is not going to pick up the maintenance of footings and art from this commission.
Okay, let's read our ordinance.
I agree, I don't think it's in anybody's budget.
Right, it said,
Art
it does
is in
say,
no one's
it's H,
budget.
it does say, Kent, to your point, advise all city departments on installation, maintenance, and daily session of artwork.
Does that mean we're gonna pay for it?
That-
No, it doesn't. That means we're gonna advise on it.
Kent.
Advise.
You will advise. Okay, so for the, let's look, the Life of the River is actually the responsibility of the GBNLC and the city to maintain that.
Sure.
So let's say the GBNLC goes away,
Mhm.
okay, and there's no money left to do that. They'll go to the PAC, the parks, and they'll say, look, these pads are bad, whatever, this piece is broken, you need to maintain this. And we'll say, we don't have any money, and they'll be like, then it's coming down. We'll take it down. So ultimately, this committee needs to make sure artwork stays out. So there needs to
You're
be
right,
some element
we
of,
do.
you know what I mean?
But funding is not in this ordinance. And I would caution everybody to think about this. Do we want to use some of our limited budget on this thing that's ambiguous at this point? It's ambiguous. It doesn't say it on here that we need to pay for it. We need to advise on it, and I think we should take a stance on it. But do we want to pay for it out of our small budget?
Well, what will
Who is
happen
going to
when
pay
we?
for it if we don't?
Right.
Exactly. We
But
gotta
doesn't,
figure
but
that
doesn't
out.
the
You
three
can't just
hundred
blame it
that
on
take it
somebody
down,
else.
can't that?
That's not what's going
Look,
on.
is that enough
What's
to?
gonna
No,
happen
because
is when you guys go before
Right.
park committee or
Right.
INS, the question that council's gonna ask and that board is gonna be, this is great, we love it, who's gonna maintain it? Because that's what we got hit with. Who's gonna pay for the maintenance of this?
Right.
We have to be able to say, we will, because they're gonna say, we don't have
Right,
it in our
and-
budgets for that.
And we
so-
are with the 300 to de-accession it.
Well, however we do it, however it's, whether it's the $300, whatever, or whatever, we
No,
need
because
to.
if there's a public art, what we're doing here is if there's a mural or if there's a sculpture that is gonna need to be repainted or repowder coated, at any point in time, we're saying that we're the responsible, like, people that are gonna fund to have that paid for. And it might cost $15,000 to repowder coat a piece of artwork out there.
But that's not gonna be in the revolving, I mean, we're just talking about the
No,
revolving right
we're
now,
talking,
right?
no, we're talking
Oh.
about
The
what the
whole
GBPAC
program.
is gonna do.
Oh,
So, I mean, even though.
Oh,
it's-
wait, I'm not done.
I thought we were on the revolving.
So, if we're gonna do this, we need to accept the whole can of worms. We're not talking
Yeah.
about filling little holes here. We're saying we're gonna pay for that. And if we do, that's gonna eat into our budgets every year. And it's gonna limit our impact. So do we wanna do that?
Well, who will do it if we don't? That's my
Right.
question to you.
That's ambiguous.
That's
And that's
not,
it.
but it's not.
It's ambiguous,
It's a
but,
big
but
issue.
it's ambiguous, but we have to figure out who's gonna do it because it's gotta be done.
Okay.
We can't, we can't just say this is ambiguous, someone's gonna do it.
If you leave it to
No,
nobody will do it.
I'm not saying that, and if you guys think that's what I'm saying, then I'm not making myself clear, and I apologize. We need to find who's responsible for that money. If it's us, then we should have way more money in our budget, and we should talk about that with the other departments, and money should be coming into us in other ways. Because this $75,000 is supposed to be for public art. Like, maintenance is part of having a good system, but
I
it's
would-
gonna be expensive, and like, we all need to help this.
So I have a question.
Like all departments.
So someone puts, so we have the concrete slab, that's part of the GBPAC.
Yep.
We put it out there, first art installation goes in, it's there for a year, and it's gone. So technically, once it's gone, it's not our responsibility anymore.
No, but
If
the pad is.
Right, I'm talking about the actual art that
Right.
goes on
Right.
top of the pad. So when the art goes away, why would it be then our responsibility? Because aren't we asking the artist to ensure that it is weatherproof for an
Correct.
entire year?
Yes.
Yes, but.
And then now the pad part, okay, if it's really that cheap, like the $4 or whatever, 50 or whatever, to plug a hole,
One thing I
then
know.
can we limit our maintenance to maintaining only the concrete slab?
That is something we can do, and that, I like the sound of that. But if we're gonna say we are responsible for maintaining all the public art in Green Bay, all of it, that is expensive.
No, we can't do that.
That's what
not-
you're saying, we're
the
doing. That is
artist's
not what I'm
responsibility.
saying.
I'm sorry, did I misunderstanding?
So
sorry.
I'm saying that,
All
so
the
first
public
of
art has
all.
their own contracts at this
Correct.
point.
First of all, right now, we're dealing with the rotating art program. And so that means the slab itself. And it also does mean, if a piece falls over,
Mhm.
then crews are
That's-
going to have to be deployed in order to remove that
Okay.
piece.
I really misunderstood then, so let me just give you a hypothetical
let-
then. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, but what you're talking about is the larger question of whether or not maintenance is of the annual grants program.
Yeah, the
Whether or
permanent stuff
not
we're putting in.
maintenance is on the GBPAC. So we are
Right.
not responsible for all art that's been out there, and we have to somehow maintain it. But let me just tell you a story of the city getting a little burned, and why somebody needs to be responsible for maintaining the art.
Agreed.
And that somebody is going to need to be us. While I agree with you, another parenthetical, while I agree with you, Kent, that there should be some more team effort in terms of, funding the maintenance
Sure.
of the art
Right.
from other departments, which is certainly a goal, right? And and I agree with you on that. For now, this needs to be us, and this is a tale of us getting burned. So we have a 9/11 memorial,
I
which
was
a
just gonna
lot of
bring that up.
people like.
Yeah.
When it first went up, people really felt very drawn to it, because I live right near there.
It's got a
I go there
piece of
every
the,
year.
it's got a
Right.
piece of the metal.
It is not meant for this climate.
Mm-mm.
No,
And now the city is stuck with a piece of art that is crumbling,
Yeah.
that although it had great meaning and could still have great meaning,
Right.
right now it's crumbling.
And how do you take down a 9/11
And how do you take that down?
memorial?
Because people are
Well, I
attached
don't
to
think we
it.
can take it down, but maybe you
Okay,
can.
we're not gonna argue that
Yeah,
right
right,
now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying that as an
Right,
example
right, right.
of why the GBPAC right now needs to be responsible for the footings, that's cool, right? Gotta make sure that when we do this rotating art, that people know that this has gotta be, for minus
Right.
40 out there.
Yeah.
And
And
then
safe.
for the annual grant program,
Mhm.
we definitely need to be able to have enough folks around the table. We have artists, we need to have enough folks on the table who can say, you know what, this person isn't using outside grade granite, and we are not accepting this piece because we are going to see a $15,000 bill in 2 years, and we
Right.
don't want that.
Okay,
Right, but,
good.
so,
Maintenance would be
Thank
part
you.
of that annual grant.
So,
program,
but
budget.
what I'm
but
saying.
we're heading off that problem, right? Because that problem was created because there wasn't us to
Right.
make sure that we're installing,
The right.
so that we should never run into that kind of problem. So we
Uh,
shouldn't have that kind of maintenance.
Well, you have a contract and you have, those things will be in place now that, because like
And
Kent,
certain
like your
amount of
piece,
that
we signed a
responsibility
contract
falls
with
on
you
the
on the
stage
oak leaf, right?
Right.
We have to call
Falls
you
upon
if
the
that,
artist to make sure
isn't that
you-
concrete,
to
like,
ensure
if
that
something
whatever
happens to
they're
that piece, you
providing
normally
us
call the
and
artist
selling
first
us,
and
Yeah.
say,
it's a
hey,
guarantee
It's first
that
right of refusal,
these
like
stuff
giving
isn't
on
gonna
board,
start
you
Right.
crumbling
Yeah,
after
well,
2 years.
that agreement's right here, but.
do you know what I mean? Do we have that? So then the artist actually gets the first, hey, your piece is falling apart, you need to
Exactly.
come, you need to come do
Fix
something
it.
with it. And if the
Sometimes.
artist is like, I'm out, you're
And
like,
that's a
okay.
case-by-case basis. I've signed contracts with
Fixing it,
cities
or we
where
taking it down?
it's a gift to the city.
Yeah.
I've signed contracts like this one, and I can't cite it offhand because there's
Like,
a
do
lot
we
of
own
verbiage
it?
in here. But let's take a step back. So are we saying we do or we don't have the responsibility of paying for the maintenance of all work, all artwork in Green Bay? Yes or no?
No.
No.
Okay. Are we only assuming
Our work.
responsibility for the things that we're implementing?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Okay, so there's like, let's say that one, that you're talking about the Twin Towers.
Yeah,
If that needs maintenance, that's not coming out of our budget.
No.
Okay.
Can we advocate for for a private investor
yes.
or a private entity to,
That's
So-
what we need to do, I think, as the PAC, is figure out how we can make that
And
right.
that gets to where Kent is going with the endorsement. I mean, so endorsement advocacy is,
Right.
is certainly a part of it. And no doubt, we need a private investor to go and, I don't know.
yeah, so
And-
basically,
I'm
isn't,
not
is
No
sure.
one's
that,
doing
Needs to
that
go, yeah,
Right.
Right.
no one's
will
doing that.
that be part of
Job.
the job description?
Right now,
Yeah,
it's,
could be.
right now, I don't
We've got to have
It's
an
not.
all other duties as assigned.
I think it's,
They're not.
HR wrote it, so I'm sure it's in there.
That's true, we can just kind of,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
go right at the bottom
Yes.
there.
Yeah, let's
I'd like to get to
We'll just
that.
pile on.
Okay.
Yeah, but we are, so we
Let's keep
are
going here.
Yeah.
only,
We were talking about the $300, right?
yes.
Does this make sense now, the annual grants program, how it differentiates itself from the rotating arts?
So
Yeah.
what you're saying is you don't want to, so what I have down here is X stipend, which is what we discussed,
Mhm.
that we are not right now going to do any payments for new pieces,
For the rotating arts
for
program?
rotating art, right?
Correct.
How are we all feeling about that?
I think there's enough out there that I think we
I
might
think
have
so.
a good flow.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
I think
That-
if we couldn't find artists, it might be, then we might, I mean, because don't these walks, like, I think that walk at Skokie had some permanent pieces along with,
Yeah.
rotating.
We'll
Yeah,
have that
right.
also, yeah.
And also in
Probably
Racine.
if we get enough people that want to display, it won't be an issue, we'll just, right? I mean,
Right.
We wouldn't have to pay for it.
So, but do you want to keep this in? So we're going to say we're going to have, you said $300.
Yeah,
Okay,
take away
for-
the new pieces.
So X payment for
Existing. Oh, no,
For
we're not
new
paying.
No,
pieces.
new pieces. So do we want to not have any new pieces at all? We're not going to discuss this
No.
at all?
No.
Take the whole thing out?
Take it out.
That's
All
a
right.
different, I guess, right, that'll be
It's
the,
a whole
That's
different
our
program.
All right, then I'm taking it out. Okay, now, let me just make sure, just so I'm being efficient here. Reimbursed expenses only, no, because we're giving a stipend,
right,
okay?
right.
Take it out. Eligible, ineligible uses of funds, which is also not.
Regardless.
Right. We can float some of these things to the annual grant program when we talk about it, but for the rotating arts program,
It is not.
okay. So then let's go back.
Would you want to put a $300 in front of that dollar sign?
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
Yep, I got it.
So it's a $300
For
sign.
existing art.
Up to.
Up
About up
to.
to?
Sure.
Do you want up to, or do you want it just to
I
be
think it-
300 bucks?
300.
I think 300,
Bam.
that makes it easier.
And then, is
Okay.
that for
Digital
installing and deaccessioning it?
Yes.
The whole thing.
De-accessioning it? It's
Deaccession.
both?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, wait. Install.
To our
And
Shingle.
Okay. Don't blow all that money.
Gosh,
You're gonna have to take it
That's-
down in a year.
That's awesome. The $300, that's awesome.
accession. That is such a funny word. Okay. Okay, now let's go back.
It's a real, it's like two
All right.
negatives.
To what types of pieces are eligible for the program? That is, I'm not sure what page that is for
The
y'all.
front
but-
page, first page.
Okay. What types of pieces? So I have all these things, you know.
Visual, I don't think performing would be appropriate.
Okay, so then,
24/7, 365. Get back out
That-
there.
That'd be a committed individual.
That you
David
got.
Blaine would do it, I guess.
He
done Things
would.
like that. A visual,
that's
yes.
kind of interesting though. Okay,
I-
You won't
No.
really need a concrete pad for that, though.
In
You
the
don't.
interest of time, let's just say
so,
that before.
anything that we need, is there anything that we need to say about the size of it? I mean, so we've got a 5x5 concrete
Because it
slab.
can't reach over the 5.
Okay.
You'd like it not to, yeah.
Depending
No.
where it is, that's right of way.
Preferred.
Yeah, I suppose
Parks.
if it's in a park.
I think it's gonna be site
it could get
specific,
Bigger.
right? It's gonna be site specific, 'cause if it's in the right of way, it's this. 5
Yeah.
by 5 this. If it's park, it could be this.
But, wait a
Right,
minute
right.
though, if it's a, what did you say, 5x5 with an 8-inch depth of concrete? No,
4-inch by 8-inch, 4-inch concrete, 8 inches.
of gravel.
Yeah.
So, what poundage does that say?
Yeah, what is, you have to put limits and parameters on it, because you can't have a 2-ton
Okay.
vertical beam just like.
Because then you're going down all the way down.
It's a,
You have to have some limitations, you have to know what your capacity
I bet you Steve could give us a better objective. I mean, I could tell you I've had like 400-pound top-heavy things in 4 inches of concrete, and it won't even, it's not gonna budge. And I don't think we're gonna run into that. I think we're gonna.
But I think we need to say.
Is that the artist's responsibility to provide us that data with regards to the
Weight
safety
and
of the?
size?
You'd
Sure,
like to know,
yeah.
but I mean, an artist also isn't an engineer.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
So you, like,
Right.
to know that capacity and limitations, like, it's gonna be good to have that in there.
So-
What does 4 inches of concrete by, or like, with 8 inches of gravel, what is that?
What does that support?
Oh,
And
yeah, so
are
they
we gonna be
know.
then paying someone, like, so someone, an artist comes to us and says, well, I think my piece is this much, and it weighs this, I know it's this big, but
Yeah.
I think it weighs this much, then do we need to then go and like?
And like, go to a truck
and-
scale and weigh
Yeah.
it?
No, an engineer, that could give us time to tell us if this piece will be safe,
I
can
kind
be
of think we
safe.
had that done for the life of the river. I think, but I wonder if our
Because
public
we
works
do have
guys
public
look.
safety
See, I think the
issues.
public works guys had to look at it
Right.
actually and say, with
Yeah.
regards to like if people touch the metal, could they get cut?
Right.
You know, that kind of stuff, safety. I think they might have reviewed that and gave it to
If you have literature on that, like, look up
I don't know,
razor.
I'll look that up.
But I could
Right.
say, I don't think we're gonna have anything over 400 pounds, and I think this will accept way more than 400. I know it will.
So you want to say 400 pounds?
Max.
Okay.
Maybe, and then.
I like the idea of no overhang, to be honest with you. I mean, not too much overhang, like you had a 5x5 thing, and I don't want the
So a
spread to be
maximum of
15.
25%.
But if, let's say,
outside
like
the
Casey
space.
Krieger does mobiles, let's say he makes one outside
Right.
that's got extreme overhang, it's super beautiful.
But it's very thin.
I want
it's
that to
small
get shown
device.
around.
I think it's site specific.
Yeah, site
And
specific.
then I go back to, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
do.
you know,
Okay.
Yeah.
If it's in the middle of a park.
But I
Yeah.
need, but what I need to do is to just go back to
The tree
Steve and get some parameters. Cheryl will look
would
at
be a
that.
pad, right?
So,
Good.
do we have a uniform size? I think the answer is no.
I don't think so.
Okay?
Art, it's hard to put art in a box.
But listen, these are.
You had to
we're-
say that once.
Yeah,
at this
we're
point.
objectifying it.
We're,
Yeah.
we're talking because it isn't just about, you know,
How about Jack
you're
and-
right, Pooja, no
I'm
doubt,
sitting next to and you're still-
but this is, you
It's
have to
interesting,
add.
you're gonna have
What do you
to,
do?
some, like, if you wanna get wild and crazy with it, go to the other grant program. Like, the rotating art has to have more parameters because we just need to get stuff rotating.
Well, that's kind of,
Right, you don't
thank
want
you,
a
Matt,
big-
that's kind of
big
where I was
installation.
with that, you know,
Like, I see both sides with it.
yeah.
So that there's a more simple, streamlined way of getting the rotating art
Mhm.
on those things. But then if it's a permanent one, then it would go into the other.
Mhm.
Then it can be more in-depth,
So,
you can talk
so if
about
an
more
artist
different.
comes just like, well, what are you planning? And like, okay, you're this or you're that.
So that's why I don't like the idea, if it's, you know, if we've got a 5x5 pad, I feel like the overhang should only be, you know, maybe 2 feet around it,
Well,
and that's it.
but wouldn't we be making that I mean, they're gonna come to, I mean, before they make it, they're gonna come to us with what they're gonna do.
Well,
Not
this is
necessarily
existing
for
art.
rotating art.
This is existing art, so they'll show us a picture of the piece and be like, nope, not
Too big.
eligible.
And we can make that decision
And I
on
think
case
that's
by case, can't we?
isn't that like a commit, isn't that committee work, really?
It is
As a
committee
committee,
work.
you know,
We would be
we send it
saying-
out, we get
But
20
the-
pieces,
but
we
here's the
rank
thing,
them
too.
as the committee and go, these are our top
But we
3.
are sending this is gonna be on a website for people to look at, and we don't want them to think that they can have a 20-foot mural.
Yeah,
And
they
then we
see
get
it and they're
all
like,
this
this is gonna be a
random-
gold line, I'm gonna create a piece and then do it, and then it's like, oh, bum, bum, bum.
Well, if we say 5x5 slab, going to
And
be
then
in the
with the
public right of
10%
way.
Overhang around this.
I don't know.
Well,
I
zero.
don't
It's
think
gonna
we
be
need
zero
to
if
make
it's in the
any
right of way, so-
parameter adjustments.
Oh, right,
Like, I don't think that's gonna be advantageous for the,
artist.
I don't know, it's
Right.
like, this is it, this is slab of concrete, guys, give us the,
give us your ideas.
Well, what we could do.
on this site, it's gonna be no
Right.
overhang, on this site, it may
That's what
have
we
a
could do.
potential overhang.
All right, so let's do that.
Right?
So
And then
let's
we're gonna
say,
Yeah.
we'll set up
right, It's
criteria
really dangerous,
Then-
we can't do this one.
for
or
each
that's really-
site.
Otherwise, you just say it's a 5x5 concrete slab. If you have questions, email the group, because then you leave it open and you don't have to restrict it or leave it
Right.
wide open.
Right,
Yeah,
Then
'cause
you
I
leave
don't-
it to, hey, if you have something and you think, maybe, is it allowed to do this? Ask us.
yeah, give us a call.
Because then you can address it
Yeah.
more in person. It's more work, but that's something that is totally, you're not gonna get 100 people
Right.
asking this question.
Right.
Okay.
99?
Materials,
Be okay.
so, I'm not an artist here, so,
The
I don't know.
weather, they need to be
Is it
weather.
That's a good one.
I think they need to be, what's the word I'm trying to say?
Resilient.
Weatherproof.
All season.
Weather resilient.
Weather, yeah.
Yeah, all
weather.
season weatherproof.
Weather resilient, and I think they need to be,
Well, you just have to put like, subject to extreme conditions, because
subject to.
that's
extreme-
where we live. It's super hot in the summer and it's super cold in the winter.
So the weather, and then also, I think it needs to be safe. So it can't have,
no sharp edges.
Well, Can we be cutting edge?
we can't be cutting edge on these, it's
So
gotta be.
no sharp edges.
No, I don't think we
There's
should
no
say
like
that.
sharp edges.
Yeah.
I think
should say
if we
safe.
just say safe, because
Yeah.
then.
Safe, oh, okay.
Right,
Yeah.
you can't have,
But how do you say, I don't understand safe.
Because it's just something that,
Safe
if we
to the
see, like,
public.
if you got a sharp edge in there, but no one's gonna end up touching it.
yeah, maybe the
It's
sharp
like
edge is up here.
It's like the corner of a
That's
coffee table. Like, you're gonna hit your, like, leg on
Child
it,
will.
like, make sure
Yeah.
that you cover that up, or like, don't do that. Don't have that right where the
Should we just
pedestrians
write
are
child
gonna
first?
Exactly, exactly.
Well,
be cognizant. I mean,
Just-
safety is a concern. You can put that in there as far as like, sculpture must be safe when people are, you know,
Right,
their safety
yeah.
is a concern.
Safety to touch, safe to touch.
Safe for the
No.
environment.
You don't want to encourage some people to
Yeah,
touch.
touching is not good.
Or when
Touching's
it's
not
on a
good?
concrete
But
slab,
they're
people
gonna
are gonna
touch
go
it.
up to it, they're gonna.
That's
They're gonna
fine, but
touch
you don't
it.
wanna
Take pictures up
encourage.
against
Right.
it.
Like, if something says safe to touch, that means you're supposed to touch it.
Right. If-
Like,
Well,
You
but
can
that,
come.
well, the artist should make it safe to touch, but the audience, the public doesn't know they need to go touch it.
I don't think we need to have touch on there. I think that's.
Touchy.
Obviously, you're gonna,
We're gonna have to
Touchy,
address the
touchy.
safety issue to get it through committee,
yeah,
so.
and the fact that it would be safe to touch.
It
Well,
should be
whatever,
at least
we need to
safe
have like a
touch.
safety, there needs to be an element of safeness for the public to view it.
yeah.
You know
I
what I mean?
think
It
keeping
can't be
it that
something
way
they
is-
can get
is
injured
good.
on.
and
So-
staying
Because that's a
definition.
liability. if it's
So
on
then
city
I have to, then I
property.
think I need to, wait. I think I need to go to legal and ask how do we talk about safety concerns? How do we let
Sure.
the public as well as the
Artists.
artists know that this needs to be safe? I mean, it's not
Mhm.
one's gonna be watching it, it's not the Uffizi,
No.
okay?
Okay.
You don't want someone to get their hand stuck in it.
Right.
Right.
Or their tongue.
How about
But that's
findings?
why I
We
think
gotta keep
also
going,
in-
everyone.
How do we assure durability?
case by case, I think. I think that's what we're trying to.
Well, durability is, yeah, weatherization.
Weatherization.
Garrett?
And then we also kind of answered that.
I'm in a
that
meeting, but I'll be done in
DPW would
about
be
10,
in
15
a little
minutes.
bit
Call you back.
of that. Okay, so DPW, weatherization.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
And also safety, because if it's safe, then hopefully it'll stay up.
Right.
Okay. Then footings, that's where you work, Kent.
Collaboration with the Artist Municipality Codes. I think we're gonna be in line with those, because the Public Works is probably gonna be implementing them.
What type of collaboration do we need to meet the needs of the artists and municipal codes? So I put that in there because I wanted to make sure that the artist, that what we put in as a footing would be appropriate for artists. I mean, a concrete
Yeah.
slab for a sidewalk is not necessarily, I mean, you kind of talked about that, but,
Yeah.
but.
This is gonna be very strong.
Right, so then, what is the process by which, and granted, we basically, so do we just basically say to DPW, you all design it and we'll pay for it? Which they may or may not do. Do we say to Rick Jensen, the purchasing agent, can you find us a contractor who will design this and we'll pay for it?
Is it flush to the ground? Is it gonna have a tapered edge? You know,
Okay.
do we have a spot where we can have actual verbiage there? Can an artist put up a plaque?
Yeah, I mean, it's
all
probably
of
gonna
those-
be offset the ground, usually they're offset.
So should we have a description of what these slabs are gonna be before they go out and get bids
We'll
on it?
probably do that after we potentially get the funding, we can do it then, I think.
Well, it's our 75,000. We just have to determine.
Well, we might get a block grant for this,
Oh,
so.
We're gonna use the 75,000.
Yeah, I think this, we can take, this is like detail work that we can take care of.
I
No,
think
this
it
is
has to
it,
be
we're
part of
making a
it now.
program.
Yeah.
Well, but
I don't
isn't
think we have the
Public Works,
information.
This is the detail.
This is it.
Isn't
This is
Public-
it.
Didn't Steve say that they would install those slabs by contract with their contracts?
Yes, he did.
So isn't Public Works gonna,
Determine.
Do we want to leave it up to
Determine-
them, or do we want to say, hey,
well,
this
it's
is what
5
we
by
want?
5,
I
but
don't
quite
think
honestly,
there's not
I
much
would,
they can get
if
wrong,
they're,
I don't think.
if Public Works is willing to do that, they're the guys that understand,
They are.
Yeah.
you know, how to do concrete and.
I'm just saying, it might be
what's under it.
worth at least being involved in the conversation,
So it's not a-
whether
okay,
it's,
so-
it is flat with the ground, or it is raised up an
Right.
inch or two, like, those are subtle things,
They
but
are.
they can make a difference. Like,
Yes.
because if it is something you're supposed to touch, and you go up there, now you have a tripping hazard if it's above the ground.
Right,
So these
right.
are things to think about. Because
Yeah.
I would say, as much as it's leave it to them, because it's nice that they're doing it, be involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, and we
Just
might,
let
maybe
them
we
have
put that pole with the blank ability.
Right.
At
The-
every one of them.
And I would say,
The
consistency
what?
would be
With
like
that-
the
that you
plaque
can
to say
plaque
who
it.
did it.
You know, so we have a standard pole base that comes up.
Just
that
like
you
any
can-
sculpture walk, you have either like a piece of rock with
They're
like
all
a
the
slanted
same.
thing with who did
Yep.
it, or you have a
Yeah.
little raised piece with a
Yep.
slab of metal, and you can just change it up.
Right.
Right.
But it has to be, I would say,
Signage.
you'd want to address
Yep.
that so
We
it's
need to have
consistent across the
signage,
board.
we
Yep.
need to have.
Otherwise,
Well,
people don't
Or
know.
we
specs for
just,
each one.
like, or like, you know, in
Or just
a
put it on the
grade,
slab.
you just put it on the slab and it just
The only thing
rotates
there
out
is,
of the.
if you do it on the slab, then you're limiting the artist's ability to, if they
Yeah,
want
you're
it.
taking their, you
Okay.
need to their square
We
footage.
need to hold the rest of the conversation on this item, I think, so that we can just get to the rest of the agenda.
We don't need to do any action, right? No.
Right.
So we have not gotten to the footings. What type of collaboration? Because I hear lots of good thoughts, but nothing concrete.
I think,
What
So I
do you mean
mean-
collaboration with who? I
The
don't know.
What,
Public
that's
Works, I guess.
what I'm asking.
so we can collaborate with Public Works at the time that we're determined to put them in. We don't need to do that right now.
So,
Will that
um,
delay our process?
We don't have all the information that we need to make that
Like where
decision.
it is?
Right now, no. Like, if all these things want to be discussed in this commission, which I don't think they don't, I don't think they do, like, if we want to discuss those things, we need to have more information about it. We need to talk with Steve, and we need to know what their perspective is. We don't know that right now. We don't know if he's
okay,
gonna-
so I'll go back. So I have asked Steve and have asked legal. Then I will ask Steve, but only up to,
Right.
well,
So, we need to really talk about.
no.
No, we did
Um,
actually, I think
Oh, yeah,
clarified a lot
we
of
got the last
stuff.
So if you want to,
And job description.
so you need a motion to,
Table this?
yes.
No, can't touch.
Not table, but just to,
Let's
Hold?
Hold.
yeah.
Motion to hold.
Seconded?
Second.
Okay, motion to hold, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so we're gonna
Okay.
hold the GBPAC rotating arts program description. Number 3, discuss with possible action on endorsement projects.
Endorsement
Not-
applications.
So, this is endorsement projects. I think.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
That's a project.
yeah, it
this
does.
is the draft of the endorsement, it's pretty straightforward, all we're asking for.
Well,
is-
first of all, what's the endorsement for?
So, could you all read this, the description? So it's essentially, if there's an artistic event or sculpture or initiative going in Green Bay, they can apply to us to have our endorsement.
What is an event?
Event like Catalyst, or like an event that's gonna be like available to the public. Actually, maybe
We
Catalyst.
talked
will work.
to, we talked to a couple
For
of them.
free or for?
Yes,
Okay, so it has to be free event?
Catalyst is
Catalyst.
not free.
No.
No, it wasn't.
so it wouldn't work, yeah,
Well, you're saying like an event similar to Catalyst, but if it was free.
yeah, that's right,
Because it has to be
Like
public
Art
accessible.
Street.
exactly.
Correct.
So Art
Or-
Street is, the
Or
vendors
mural.
pay for that though.
A
But it's
mural-
free to go.
Oh, vendors,
It's
yeah,
free to the
anybody can
public.
go to it. We don't care about the vendors, we care about
Yeah.
the public.
It's,
Public
because
has- it has to be free
everything takes
public
money to
access.
put on, but it's a matter of
Yeah.
accessibility.
But then having Mosaic Arts financially benefits from this, whereas at
But it also
Public
benefits the
Arts-
creative community. That's one of those things that we talked about initially in GBPAC was events too, was part of that. Cultural events, maybe we had that big conversation about culture.
And
ties into that.
performances and
Yeah, they have a
Well,
lot more
murals,
than just
sculptures.
Yeah, so
vendors
for
selling
example,
stuff at
if
Art
we
Street.
had at Light Park,
Yeah.
they had that, they had this summer music thing.
Sure, they could apply
Absolutely,
for
that makes
endorsements.
sense, because is that the city putting it on?
No, it's
No.
BMI.
PMI.
Yeah, and
Correct.
even more profit than,
But that, okay,
But it's
so
free to
here
the
I
public.
have, okay, so I think this is, for me, that just crosses too many lines.
Then we can choose to not give them the endorsement. They can apply for endorsement, and if we
Or they
feel like
can
it's,
apply. If
yeah,
there's a conflict there, that
Yeah,
it does not actually
that's what
benefit
we
the art,
talked about.
the
But if
public,
it's free to the public-
more. Well, but
that's
this
what
is
we'll
the
talk
thing.
about.
Yeah,
like,
okay, yeah, we can,
basis.
yeah.
So this is
As long-
just,
yeah.
this is an
Okay.
application
We don't have to argue
for
about it now.
endorsement.
It's a nonprofit.
This is a way for
That makes
the
sense.
GBPAC to get behind a project and not have to pay for it. Does that make sense?
It's a
I'm sorry,
way
one more
for,
time.
it's a way for artists to get endorsements from the public community.
And we don't have to pay
That will
for
help
it.
support
Yeah,
them,
and we
right?
just,
So it's just a verbal.
We're using our name.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Using the
And,
name of the GBP.
you know, we can, put them on our website, say, go check this out. It's really a low impact, but potentially,
High influence.
yes.
it's just
high influence.
support, it's just verbally supporting, it's just acknowledging, really.
So if we're not funding it,
There's no money to go.
no money.
Just endorsement.
If we're not funding it, and we're not gonna be maintaining it, and we're not gonna be, does that mean we're promoting it, which means we're funding it in some sense?
Yeah.
Sure.
Put an effort towards that.
Yeah.
Yes, that costs a person time.
And how much you want to cap that? Because then, you could get a stream of these.
Does it
endorsement
mean
things.
promoting them? Or
I'm
does it just,
asking.
I don't think it implies that. I think it could,
But by
if we
putting it
so
on social
choose.
media or saying that yes.
I think if you so choose. The endorsement is a separate deal from promoting. You want us to get more involved, then you're asking a bigger commitment, but the endorsement is just saying, yes, we agree to what you're trying to do.
I
We
know that
support.
I'm gonna use the GBPAC in my poster.
What do you mean?
Well, if I'm
Yes.
having an event and it's supports by the Public Arts, I'm gonna put on my
Right.
poster.
Perfect.
Supported by
Good.
the Green
Yeah,
Bay Public
advantageous.
Arts, whatever.
Yeah.
Good, because we approved it.
So
If it's
that's, you
saying
know
that
what I mean?
GBPAC is supporting something that we didn't, then it's not okay. But if
Right,
it is,
right.
then yeah, by
And
all
for
means.
supporting something like this, what happens to us with liability? Like, for example, PMI puts up something there, we support it.
Yes,
Right.
And then we're endorsing that, and there's a fire and 5 people die. What happens there?
Well, I think there's
I don't-
stipulations
I
that like,
I
we don't
think you
necessarily
go
take on the
after
views
endorsement.
of,
You go after the.
But our
It's-
name
It's
is,
a
but our name
city-
is on
Our
it.
name is on it.
in the endorsement clause though, or whatever, or in whatever details here, you could say, we don't take on any of the values or perceptions or viewpoints that as said
Well, no, but we
organization
are
does.
approving it, so
I-
technically we're
right.
saying.
I don't
And
think
there's
that
a
I think
that,
we're
Fine.
looking too deep into this.
Well, but that's the.
Kinda have
Maybe
to
we
go.
should get
It's going to
legal,
happen.
legal's
Okay.
opinion.
I don't think it
Because
will, but if it does, if we need to
It's a
protect
matter of
ourselves
CYA.
through liability, I think we can do that through verbiage.
well, but it isn't liability so much, because of course, if you're just endorsing something, it doesn't necessarily, we certainly can draft whatever endorsement application and endorsement letter to say that we are not liable for whatever you do. It's not about the liability, it's about our good name.
Mhm.
And while it's great to have, you know, we're getting
You
our
just gotta be
name
careful
out
who you
there,
endorse.
you
They gotta
know.
be-
We have that vetting process, yeah.
Yeah.
Does
But-
it meet the mission of the GBPAC?
Yeah.
Does your event meet the mission
We have
of
the
what we're
ability.
doing?
Right.
Yes,
Turn
but
down
now
anything.
here's the thing, so then the fire kills 5, and then they say, well, the city, they should have, they endorsed it,
Oh,
they should have
Pooja,
checked.
that will happen anyway.
Yeah, that's a
But then
standing
how do
expectation.
we then say, okay, yes, we did endorse this, but
It's
we
not like
did
we lit the
not.
people on fire.
Well.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
I mean-
but you
So-
can't cover everything,
You
I mean,
can't, I
I
mean-
mean, the accidents happen and
We
that
would
kind of stuff.
endorse,
I think-
if we use that theory, we will never endorse anything.
Right, that's true.
Because you can't cover every
You can't
catastrophe.
cover anything.
You wouldn't be going after the endorser of said thing, you'd be going after the organizers, the people actually doing it, the people we're endorsing.
So,
That's who
okay,
they'd be
so
going
let's
after.
have another fact.
So it's not, like, if someone
it's not-
advertises
not that
something,
there's
you go
a
after the
fire.
advertisers? No, you go after the people who are,
Now that there's a
Who
fire,
actually
but it was
did it.
shown that
Put
the
it out.
artist was a scurrilous individual who did horrible illegal things, or
Right.
did, you know, was member
Right,
of
that's
the
a little bit
clan.
more.
And we
Yeah.
learned about that after we endorsed them, maybe. That was, all came to.
So I was
Worst
listening
case
scenario.
to, I was listening to a piece about applications for immigrants, long story
Mhm.
short. Nobody in the government wants to sign
Yes.
this applicant for this immigrant who helped, an Iraqi who helped us, because they don't want to be the person to sign off on
Right.
some terrorist.
Mhm.
So, you know, that is my, I mean, I agree that it could get our name out there. I agree that, you know, you, more GBPAC, right, that seems really great. There is a pitfall, potentially, that will endorse something that we may not know, may not have the ability to know, and then it blows up in our face, and then what?
Well, what's our point?
yeah, I mean,
Public
you got,
Yeah.
it's not a
There's
risk-free
always some
world. I
element of
mean,
risk.
you have to,
Okay, so can I?
You can't look at all the negative and be like, if we did endorse something and it worked out super well, like our endorsement made the sponsorship with Schreiber that got this and
Yeah.
did that other thing, you're not looking at that, you're only looking at the negative stuff, which
But no,
will
you
happen
know,
at a
that's-
certain
that's-
percentage of the time.
That's not fair, because like, okay, we have, someone wants to put a piece of art on that lawn that they have there.
Right.
Okay,
With
that's
liability
fine.
issue, yeah.
They are willingly taking the risk. We're going to say, yes, this artist, we support this idea of putting
Right.
art on this, on your property, right?
Mhm.
As the GBPAC, but Schreiber's willing to take the risk.
right,
That is absolutely fair. But now we have an event, and we are endorsing the event.
If
Say,
we
for
choose.
example, the book
If we
fair,
choose.
right?
Yeah.
If the GBPAC, because it's a cultural event, we're going to, and it's literary arts, we're gonna say, we are going to endorse this event. And then something happens at the end.
well, can't we say the same thing, like Schreiber say, we're not endorsing the event, we're endorsing the people, we endorse
The idea and the mission
the idea,
behind it.
yeah, the idea behind it, not the event itself.
How
We
do you
endorse,
communicate that, though?
Yeah,
I mean, that makes sense sitting around
Celestine,
the
the
table.
city has their logo on so many things.
We do.
I mean, if you think about it, look at any
Mhm.
downtown event, there's City Green Bay logo, City Green Bay logo.
Oh, we
We
do.
endorse that as a city because it
It's on public
promotes.
property too, because like if there's a
Okay.
marathon
Right.
running around the city, you got to get city
I think
approval.
we understand the liability issue here. I think
That's a
maybe
good-
if
that's a
if you
good
don't want to
conversation.
support this because of a liability issue, that the GBPAC cannot endorse art events in the city, then that's your decision. But I think.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to have the endorsement, and then it's a matter of, if it's a too risky a thing, then we can talk about it, but there's a lot of opportunity here to help a lot of people out, just with saying that we're endorsing somebody. It's a very easy thing to do that can have a great impact.
That's right. This, our mission is to support these
Yeah,
things.
I agree. I just think that there has to be a certain amount of
We get to vet every
limitations,
project.
right? But then I think on the front end, we need to define what that is.
Define the endorsement.
What do you
What are we
Before,
going to,
what
what
are
types
we
of things are we
endorsing?
going to endorse,
And,
right?
and whether or not,
What
how
do you
does that
suggest?
affect the city and the public more
Right.
than the private entity that's
Right.
pushing it forward?
That
Right.
actually makes sense.
Yeah.
I
that
think we
actually
need to have
makes a
some
little
Because
bit
it
more
boundaries
has
on
to
what we
benefit the
endorse.
city
That's right.
and the
So-
public.
It has the benefit of, yeah, our mission, which is what we're all here
Public
well,
for.
arts.
like the,
Public
like the
arts.
concerts at like Park, that, I think that benefits the city. That
Of course.
benefits
Yeah,
the
but I
public.
don't, but
Yes, and
I
accidents
don't,
can happen.
I don't see why
It's a
the
free concert. How
GBPAC
does that
wants
not benefit the
to, whoa,
public?
whoa, I don't see why the GBPAC wants to endorse cover bands. Why?
Yeah. That doesn't
Why?
make any sense
It's
to me.
music and culture.
We don't
I mean,
need to.
Yeah, it's music and culture.
We don't need to.
Because
That's
it
not what
doesn't-
we're discussing. We're
But anyway.
discussing the endorsement application right here. Do we endorse? So,
So
Well, I think there's a
Well,
bigger
this is
discussion,
the
Kent,
one-
though, I'm hearing about endorsements entirely, right? I don't
Yeah.
know.
But I think
Do you know
Tricia
what I
makes an
mean?
excellent point.
There's a-
So are we endorsing the idea that this is part of, going back to what we talked about, the the creative economy and the creative placemaking, right? We are endorsing this effort to contribute to, you know, our mission and that? Or are we endorsing the individual event or the individual artist or group of
how are
artists?
those
Right.
separate?
Well, are you
Yeah,
endorsing,
yeah,
are
I
you
mean,
endorsing the
how can you
process
do
to
one
help
without the
get it
other?
done, or are you supporting the actual thing?
Maybe that
'Cause
is,
if it's a
maybe that
way-
is splitting hairs.
If it's a way of like planning and like getting buy-in and approval, and we help in that process, but we're not actually endorsing the event or anything else like that, maybe it's more of that. It's more of a planning behind-the-scenes thing where it's like, well, I'm going to do this thing, and I need to get this, and that done, and funding and everything else. Like GBPAC has written a letter of endorsement to show like that they support this initiative or whatever, but it's not necessarily like we're supporting the event. We're supporting like, hey, get this stuff done in the community.
Yeah. Our mission of the Green Bay Public Arts Commission is to promote the arts, culture, and creative identity of Green Bay through awareness efforts, provisions, and exhibitions.
Because I don't think this is a
And
matter of
exhibition.
marketing, this is a matter of like actually achieving the thing. We don't need to place it as
Yeah.
it's even a possibility that they're using GBPAC for whatever. It's more pulling weight to get approvals to actually get stuff done.
Right, so if someone comes to us and says, hey, I want to do a book fair, let's just use a book fair because that's gonna happen.
That's gonna happen.
Okay, so, and they come to us and say, we need to get more funding for the book fair, we need your approval. So what we're saying is, we believe in what you're doing, we think it's gonna help Green Bay, so, here's our letter of support, right? So they use this, they go out there and they collect more money, right? But that, at that point, once the actual fair goes on, we have nothing to do with it.
Correct.
Because
That's what I'm
we're just
saying.
supporting the idea of it, and that they're gonna be bringing tourism money here, you know, we're gonna.
It's just
build
like a letter of
community, we're gonna
recommendation
build
for applying for
everything.
college.
Right, now, but remember, everything that we're gonna stand behind, we're standing behind.
That's right.
And that we have to, I mean, you know, when you give a letter of recommendation, that's a
You're standing
big,
behind
big
that
thing.
Right.
person.
So
Right,
it's
we
a big
get
deal.
that, and we
I-
bet
I
that,
agree
we
with
bet that.
That's,
Yeah.
that's the
Bet
point,
that.
that's the positive power of this
Yeah.
thing.
Right, but then I
get
think
it.
that that's good on up for the back end,
Mhm.
but I don't think that we need to be the ones then, you know, they put our logo on it.
That's what I'm saying, it's not meant for that. Look at the
Yeah,
purpose of the
I-
endorsement, it's not a marketing thing, it's more of like, hey, how do we get stuff done?
Yeah, and where our
Right.
logo is, don't we pay, Cheryl?
Monies?
We don't pay money, like, we don't,
Sometimes we do, I think sometimes we don't, like, I think, like WIDA will do housing, I'm trying to think of their annual house walks, those types of things.
Well, we
Sometimes it's supported by,
Should have verbiage.
Well, they would
that
have to
says letter of
ask us
support.
to use our logo for their event,
right.
right?
Yeah. And that is.
And we can
something
decide
do.
whether we do or don't.
Yeah.
So the endorsement is essentially a letter that we're gonna be giving out, and nothing more.
Like a
It's-
pre-made.
Well, we can decide if
generic
we
Maybe
want
we're
more.
getting hung up on the word endorse compared to support.
Support, let's change it to support.
Well,
Do you know what I'm saying? Endorse
Is that another
seems-
conversation just like this, where it's what does support mean? Does that
Because
include
we are,
marketing and
support all
promotion
over
of
this
the-
mission statement is supporting
Right.
arts, all over
Mhm.
this.
Because
And that's a
that
letter of
endorse is
support.
huge.
Endorsement's different, I think.
Yes,
That
it's
gives a
very
different.
different.
I think legally it's a different word, right?
I,
Endorse
you know,
compared to support.
honestly, I would, support is better than endorse or even recommend, because if you're recommending,
Recommend.
right, recommending
Can we
and endorsing are.
just
I think,
change
Well,
it
you
right
just-
now
Do you want to change to like a letter of support?
That's fine with me. Is that, would that better, would
Yeah.
that limit this conversation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So is that actually is that something that is our, I'm trying to
Is
think.
it an
like-
existing thing that even makes a difference?
why-
Oh, neat, you got a
I
letter
don't
from
know, why am I
someone.
spending so much time on this? Like, I
Wait,
wanna
wait,
put
let
art
me
in
just
the
say
ground.
this, wait, sitting on the
Well,
Wisconsin
it's huge.
Humanities Council, when
Right.
you get, when there's a letter of support, that in the application, the grant application, that makes sense, that gives weight.
Because
Right.
having more support from the community
right.
definitely helps you get that grant.
Yes, because then you're showing that you
If you go
are
to the Crowd
broad.
Foundation and you want to ask for
Right.
250,000,
No, that
you
makes-
get a
that
letter of
makes a
support
difference.
from the Green Bay GBPAC,
Mhm.
then you are more likely to get that
Sure.
than
Mhm.
a letter of support from Mr. Joe down the street.
It's
Well,
not
and I
as pretty
think-
as endorsement, but if,
We
you know,
need to talk about that in itself, because we are a fundraising entity ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So at some point, there's, I love you, but I
You
want
taking-
to
you're
ask
taking
them
your-
for
Really?
money.
You're eating
Right.
from my table.
You're going to ask the same, we're asking
Right,
the same
right,
thing.
if you're supporting an ask for a different
Do you
thing
know what
that
I'm
could have been
saying? So-
beneficial for us.
Okay, so we're changing endorsement to support.
It's-
I mean, is that what we want to
But
do?
Yes.
don't we want to know,
Don't you think?
to Cheryl's point, wouldn't we want to know how they're going to use this letter of support?
Well, it's a whole.
Well, what are your
you have
intentions?
to-
That's part of the ask.
Right, that's
How do
part
they
of the
even get
ask.
this? You
Wait,
gotta have something.
It's not in here, though.
I'm saying,
right?
how do you even get to this point?
Permission to photograph.
Do all I have to do is send an email and say, yo, I want a letter of support from GBPSC, my project is called this? There's more
It
to
says
it.
An endorsement by.
Yeah, if they send us that, we just say,
Well, it
Right.
does say, how is this piece going to be funded?
Will include advocacy and strategic assistance.
How will this letter be used? Put that in your application process. What will the support do, or where will it be
What is
seen?
strategic assistance, like putting two people together so they can get money?
Oh my gosh, strategic
Like-
assistance.
Yeah, that's a scary word.
No,
Okay.
for 20
All right.
hours, nope. So,
And
It's
advocacy is okay. Well,
Nice try, Kel.
advocating-
and here we go. So, I mean, we need to do this line by line. Will include advocacy and strategic assistance for said project. That means money.
Yeah. that-
Advocacy means time and effort, yeah.
And time is money.
Yeah, that's,
We're not
Yeah,
advocating, for if you advocated for every project you supported, we'd have no time for anything.
Right.
But what I'm talking about, I guess what I meant by that, and maybe
Possible
we can verb
advocacy.
it differently, your project will go on our website.
That, once again, now we're back to the beginning of the conversation, which is putting, and I see permission to photograph, art, and publish. That means that there is time and effort given to do that. That means money.
Sure, and I think our staffer should be doing that.
But that's a lot of, or should the staffer be
So then when
focusing
you're
on our
interviewing for that
own
person, you also
program?
need photography experience?
Shouldn't our,
To hold something and push the button.
shouldn't our staffer be, for 20 hours, be focusing on
A little
getting our
bit more
own
than that.
projects out
Is
there?
No, it isn't.
Really?
Kent, you want 10 in the ground this year.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
seems like that's-
All right, well,
I think that if we're gonna give some, like the book fair, a letter of support. there
Which I
is
actually have to
really-
write. I have to write the letter because with Celebrations Council.
You know, our mission
Then
statement
take-
is to promote
Let
the
Kent-
arts.
Kent, let Pooja finish.
So technically, I think that some of these, like, K, K in that list,
Yeah.
or even C, I think it's irrelevant. If they choose to do the book fair in one location or 100 locations, it's irrelevant. The idea of the book fair, we support that. The idea of an event, music event at Mardi Gras or Art Street or whatever, we support that, that's fine. But we're not gonna sit there and hold their hand through the process and get them a stage.
Pooja, do you think we should have a GBPAC letter of support? What would it
Yes,
look like?
Application.
Yeah, what would it look like to you?
Basically, after reviewing the applicant's proposed event or project or whatever, we have concluded that this event will directly impact the city of Green Bay and its community directly through this public arts project, and we are hereby giving our support.
Just as fast as you write the acceptance, you have to prepare a rejection.
Yes. So that would look like, that's what it would look like.
What would be our support?
That basically we have reviewed it,
Mhm.
we think
Our name.
we
So it's
can
just- so
say,
it's just our name?
so we would
Okay.
put, if, I don't know,
That's
if all
fine.
needed to sign it, or just the person needs to sign.
Chair,
sign it.
probably.
A chair
Mhm.
signs it and says, with this, we are saying that it will directly impact and has value. It will have, or add value to the city of
Agreed.
Green Bay.
Yeah. I think we
And
could go a
it's
few more
community.
steps.
And we can share it on a Facebook, maybe we
I
can
think
share it on
that's
a
totally
website,
cool.
that's
I don't
easy.
think that takes a lot of
That's
time.
easy peasy to do that. I mean, they're gonna provide, if I'm gonna ask for support, I'm coming with pictures.
How
and-
many?
As long as they provide it
Yeah.
and we're not sitting there having to create.
Oh, well, I'm not
Agreed.
going out and finding
So
it.
how many?
I'm gonna post whatever you give me. If
I-
it's-
As
How many-
many as
In
we
a
choose
year.
to accept.
Right, because that's
Well, we have to review
on
And there's so many
20
room on the web-
hours.
so much room for on the website too. You're gonna have 1,000 projects on there that we're
Yeah.
supporting.
How
If-
many?
I think that's fine.
You think we're gonna have 1,000 projects?
I don't think so.
I'm just saying hypothetically.
Okay, so my
999.
Prepare for
husband,
success, right?
Let's cross that bridge when it gets there. I think we have
999.
to have the opportunity available. We are an entity that supports the
I
arts.
like actually having a plan rather than crossing the bridge when we get there. So, especially because we're talking about a
We-
person doing this work.
A hypothetical question like that, like 1,000 in a year, like, I just don't think that's realistic.
But, but do we,
Do we want to support 20 projects? For
We
example.
wanna.
But then the
cap it
21st
at-
one comes along, and then you're like, oh man, I really wish we could have done that, but we already ran
Yeah,
out
why do we
of
have to
20
put a number
letters.
on it?
well,
I mean, we can determine how many
Because we'll be reviewing it in every single session that we meet, and we
Right.
only meet once a month.
I would like to go to once a month
Well,
after this, so
right.
we can
Oh,
get
so
everything
we
done.
typically meet-
But we have to talk about that.
We do, but it's not, we could talk about that at the next meeting, which is 2 weeks.
But in the application,
Every
is
2
your
weeks.
project time sensitive?
Okay, so,
Right, because then at that point, are we pushing something back because we gotta discuss this?
That's
Right,
not-
because if we have 10
Well, if we
lines
have,
in the
could
queue, and
could
then-
the
Guys,
the
this is
person
not-
who we hire?
Yeah.
If I'm organizing an event, it's my responsibility, first of all, to seek out supporters. It's my
Yeah.
responsibility to know a timeline and work on it. It's
So
my
should we
responsibility.
I just mean, like, should you be
Give us
upfront
some
about, like,
dates
if we
to consider.
end up having a bunch to review, should we put it in there that, like, we're only capable of so many things for an hour a month? So, like, if you're planning on
Hour and a
this
half.
being your support, because things are
Yeah.
often time sensitive, that yours gets kicked back another month, and you were really hoping on this,
If
you should
you-
just be upfront about
So
that.
this
Yeah.
application
Yeah.
does have a deadline, which is 6 to 8 weeks before your event
And
kicks
by the
off.
way,
Something,
this,
you know, so it's
Yeah.
not like.
I believe this has to go to council.
But
Because it's part of the city.
if we
being
endorse,
represented.
If it
or
comes through this
support,
commission,
support.
then this has to go, I believe it has to go through council.
I don't
Each
think so, not a
support,
support.
does RDA or any of the other committees support anything, or do anything that?
I have never been in a committee that had an endorsement policy.
Yeah.
to be honest
Or-
with you.
A support.
Yeah.
policy.
Well, that's because it's a
Support.
piece of the
Support.
city that's being represented.
Support or endorsement, like as an actual program, like come, we'll give you support, you know what I mean?
And
It's
this
all-
is where the
it's like
WCAC
something
breaks
that-
off as a nonprofit.
Right. You know what I mean, that's
Right.
where, but I've been presidents of nonprofits, so.
Right.
but this is a
Boards, not
unique
just
way
that.
for the GBPAC to have more impact on the community arts in Green Bay and to advocate for it and for there to be more public arts in Green Bay.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and so I think we should have some kind of support, you know, or endorsement if we want to change it,
Right.
whatever we want to do.
Support.
We need to be an entity that creative people can go to say, the city thinks this is a great idea. Like, we support it because this is in our mission and we are an entity within the Green Bay, you know, government to make Green Bay better.
Right.
Yeah.
So going
Right.
back to
Economic
what you have written here, so we are going, an entity within the city that can support projects that are in line with its mission. We're
Yes.
striking the endorsement, advocacy, and strategic
Yeah,
assistance.
completely out.
Endorsement alone does not include financial aid of any,
So support does not include financial aid.
yes, right, sir,
Of
yep.
any kind.
Of any kind, then we restate the mission, then we get to the application. Applicant information, name, home address, business address, city, state, zip, phone, email. Project title, type of project. Okay, then you have a question. Is it applicable to include humanities and performing art in the art? This is not just an endorsement for the rotating art. This is just so that's irrelevant.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's applicable to include the humanities
Okay.
and performing
Yep.
arts. This is,
Right, I would
Public
think
Arts
it-
Commission is for visual and performing.
All arts, right.
And
Yeah,
humanities.
all arts.
All
Right.
arts. Okay, we're striking, and then preferred location, that is not relevant, I don't
Right.
think.
We can strike
Anyone
that.
disagree? Is this piece for sale? That is also not relevant, we are not promoting it.
Right.
Date the piece will be finished or performed, that's good. Date piece will be installed, performed, good. Date piece will be removed, if applicable. I think that matters. How is the piece going to be funded? That's interesting, because then that gets into, you don't think so?
I'm sorry, these are so, it's like minutia. It's like you've got, think about all of the arts coming in.
Mhm.
You're gonna just describe your project, your program. How is it funded? Who's invited? what's the location? Like those basic type of things are gonna have to pitch to the, because
Yeah.
we have to determine, is this,
Yeah.
is
Is
it
it
public?
a-
Well, location may be applicable because like if it's not in Green Bay or the greater
Exactly.
Green Bay, then why would
Right.
we support Appleton stuff? I get it, yes, we want to be all inclusive and all that, but.
But it
like,
said, it
GBPC
actually
is
said
better.
preferred location.
Okay.
So.
Oh, but isn't that just like a description of your, people,
Yeah, yeah.
something with a
Yeah.
description of your
Events.
program?
Yeah, location of
If
event, that's
applicable.
all, yes.
You know, description of your piece of work, description
So
of,
preferred location changes to location of event.
Right.
It's an
Or an-
offline art piece,
Location if applicable.
I don't
but
know.
it's all Green Bay
Location
based.
is applicable.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And if that does, what if a photographer goes around and takes these beautiful photographs of Green Bay
Mhm.
and it's all online? It's just like, that's how he presents his art.
Mhm.
But he wants, you know,
It's
our
not really
support.
public at that point, though,
Why not?
because you have to go to the website. It's not,
You're saying the barrier is the computer?
I'd say the barrier is the
You can go to the library,
barrier
that's
is the
public place.
website, the barrier is the internet.
That's interesting.
No,
no,
there
I'm
are
all in
lots
fa-
of
I'm all in favor of
Okay.
that, just because it's
that
promoting Green
happen.
Bay.
Yeah,
online. And these things go viral and they go, like, this
That's
is
fine.
Humans of New York.
But that's what I think
we
we
Let's
look
do it.
at.
Yeah,
Let's do
that
it.
is our.
That's what this committee, I think, would look at when they receive that.
So I think that preferred location, location.
Just location.
Yeah.
And then, so how's the piece gonna be funded?
Mhm.
Conceptual approach, project description,
Physical
what's the
data.
difference between those two things?
Conceptual approach.
I mean, I think I know, but what's the difference
Physical
between
data.
conceptual approach and project description?
Sorry, I was
What
right.
is
That's
the
okay.
difference in I and J? Like what does that mean?
They could be tied into one. Maybe just project description is better. Conceptual approach is something that I've had to do on other things.
What does that include?
Conceptual approach is if you have a bigger picture in mind that you're trying to target. If, let's say, you're trying to make a piece on advocacy towards the homeless, you'd want
Oh.
to go into depth on that concept and how it affects your subject matter.
Well, if we
Whereas
said,
But
project
when that's good-
description is
well-
more of an objective approach of what you're talking about.
maybe we combine them and say 250.
Yeah.
That's
Why
fine.
are we counting words? You guys are like.
Oh, because
so
of
many
the-
words.
Because if we don't, somebody's gonna hand in 5 pages,
That's
somebody's gonna
right.
have to read
It's
it.
gotta
I don't wanna be that
It's gotta be
person.
limited to one page.
Yeah.
I thought that was the vice chair's job.
Aren't you the reader?
Project,
No.
conceptual,
Give us
and
a-
project, approach and project.
Yeah.
Good, I like that.
Anything else that needs to be on this?
Permission to photograph, that's up to us if we want to do it or not.
Well,
That's if we want to do it or
By
not.
default, I think we should be allowed to do whatever we want.
Right,
The ones we
but
support.
now it's on there, and now the
Right,
people know.
exactly. We get to go.
I mean, yeah, that's the least they could do is say, yeah, you can show up and take pictures of the thing you're supporting.
I would just have a
Yeah.
statement of, I give up my rights to privacy or whatever.
Wow, hey, wow. Woo!
Copyright, no, not copyright.
So,
It's called, I give up my.
We can choose to
Republish.
accept this application at this point.
So he's gone.
Let's do
Wait,
it.
what?
Well, this is something we can do, like, it's discussion of possible action on this application. So we've
What about the-
augmented, and Celestine has all the augmentation, so do I.
What about the piece about having city approval? Did we decide if that was a
Oh,
thing
yeah,
that
it
needs
has
to
to
be
go to
looked
city
into?
council, right?
If that was even a thing?
Is that, do we need to know about that before we approve
Yes.
this application? Why?
Because
Talk
if
to
it's-
legal.
Because if it's even
Yeah.
useful. We can approve it, but if
Because
it's
they're
not gonna
gonna,
go anywhere,
what's
then
gonna
what's the point?
happen was,
Right.
we will report
Then
out
we
like the
can,
GBPC.
we won't have to wait till next
Oh.
meeting.
Wait, we got too many conversations going.
So,
We should-
because what would
one-
happen is these minutes would go to the council and it would say GBPAC endorses or supports the First Street. And at the council, you would have the ability to pull that item, right?
Mhm.
And vote on it.
To perform with amnesty, like we were talking about, and there's ways to set that into motion.
Right.
Like,
That
the
would
more
be-
we
that
can
might be
do
one of
that-
those things that the council may, I don't know if they want to give that up or not, but I think that's how it would go now.
Right.
This would go to the council and then.
And that's okay, and if it does,
Well,
that's
how
fine.
sucky would that be if it was like, we endorse this thing, and then city council goes, no, you don't. And then
Correct.
they're like, oh, sorry, just kidding. And they're like, what?
But I think if we approve this today, then we
Which
can.
could happen.
Well, we
Right.
need to,
absolutely.
we
I
need
could totally see some city council
Right.
being like, I don't like that
For
group. I don't
sure.
like so-and-so behind it.
Right,
Let's
That's
talk
it.
about it for 4 hours.
But you got 12 people, for one thing, well, 13 including if it's a tie with the mayor. But I think, like with every committee, we have to say, we are just a recommendation to the council has the final say on all this stuff.
Yeah.
So whoever comes in has to be aware of that.
Okay, Celestine, is it
Yes.
possible for us to pass this, this application, this document today, that we've made
Support.
the obligation?
So you can approve it,
Yeah,
yes, and then it would, approval of this application will go to council.
Can I get a
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wait, did you add anything
No.
No. we
after I
didn't.
left? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we added 6 paragraphs.
All opposed, motion passes.
Trusting you people. Okay, wait, who made the?
Seconded, motion.
Motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Cool. Okay, so
Bills?
I'm gonna just.
We need to do bills?
Well, the
we're
only,
gonna just-
the only
let's
bill
do that.
was to put, so I reimbursed Matt for the name out of the celebrations account. And then I'm just waiting for the monies to be appropriated in it for its own account. And then I will do a journal entry, but I don't have, I mean, the celebrations account is where it came out of.
Okay, and then,
207 something.
okay, that sounds
No,
great.
there's no other bills.
Informational, so we were just gonna talk about the website. I'm all for starting the website as soon as possible. What needs to happen?
We need a budget.
We need a budget, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said at one point that it's gonna come out of the celebrations also.
Website, no,
No? Okay.
no.
To create the website, the
Right.
cost of the creation.
Right,
of
and
the
so
website.
Okay.
what needs to happen, like I said, we need to approve a budget. We need to get the money and have, like I said, have an
Yeah.
account. Then what could happen is that, since it would be under, well under $5,000, we could put out, just get 3 quotes from different people who could do a website.
There has to be bids.
No.
Under 5, you don't.
No, we don't have to do like the whole bidding process. We just do our due diligence and get 3 quotes from different people.
Right.
We basically set up, this is what we want, and then we go out, we go and search for 3 quotes, and then award, and then we go from there.
Is this something that either of you are even gonna want to do? I suppose we just kind of implied that.
I can do it.
Okay,
like,
so,
Yeah.
we definitely need to do what I just said. We need to, as a
Quotes.
committee, we can say, this is what we want, and then
Okay.
we need to go out and search people to get 3 different quotes, and then the person who is the lowest responsive quoter would get the
Sure.
the award.
Qualify.
Lowest
Okay,
bid.
that sounds
Yeah.
good. I don't have any other information I'll go over, so.
Meetings, which we, it's not on the agenda, but that's okay, because we're just talking about what's happening next. So next meeting is the 28th, right? 14 days from now? No, 25th?
Yes.
25th?
Right now, we have 2 meetings a month for
Right.
an hour and a half. Delstein is suggesting that we change it to 3 hours once a month.
Correct.
I kind of like meeting twice a month. That means we can have more updated agenda to work on.
Okay.
But
So,
I'm not
I now have a
opposed to doing
conflict.
I don't care, whatever.
I have a conflict, because I now have a meeting the second Wednesday of the month at 8 o'clock.
Can somebody else come in your stead?
No.
So wait.
No one can come in your stead.
No, she's the only chief
No.
of staff.
So the chief of staff has to be at our commissions.
Well-
always.
Until we hire our
We need a
position.
staff member.
Okay.
We gotta hire that position.
We gotta hire, that's why I'm like, okay, let's get the person hired. Yeah.
Okay.
So we could meet later, we could meet,
On
This
the
is a good
25th?
time for me.
Are we talking about the 25th?
Evenings are bad.
no, we're talking
After.
about
After
the
that one.
second
So
Wednesday
in
of the month.
February.
So it's
Starting in February. you're
Starting,
talking?
yeah, actually, I'm
Eight?
late to the meeting already,
February
but
8th?
Is there any other opinions on the matter?
I don't care, whatever's.
One way or the other?
Yeah, I'm flexible.
I mean, if we wanted to.
I got nothing going this early or this day. We just have to make sure whatever Wednesday, that I do have transit on,
Yeah.
so we can't.
When do you have
It's gotta
transit?
be, I got it next Wednesday.
Oh, it's on the third
Cheryl, what do
Wednesday?
you think?
Yeah, and it's once a month.
You okay,
So you can't just do the third Wednesday.
Matt?
Yes.
Yes, to
Unless we
what?
do it later.
Yeah.
I think
what?
that's fine.
What is
That's
fine?
fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 3 hours? So
3 hours, one time a month.
It's 3 hours one time a month, or 2
yeah.
for an hour and a half or whatever.
Yes, but we would need to change this Wednesday
Right.
meeting to either later in the morning or in the
So you're
evening.
saying 7 to 10?
Once
Yeah.
a month,
yeah, but she's saying if it's gonna be once a month, she can't do it.
twice.
No, no, twice a
But
month you
twice a
can.
month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
twice you can.
I can't come at
This
7
next
a.m.
meeting.
7 AM.
Once a month is fine. As long as everybody can do it.
Yeah, that's.
Okay,
yeah.
so,
I think it's weird to put time.
Let's start at
restraints
6 and we'll just go to 9.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see, that's,
for me,
nobody
that's
does
my
that?
issue.
right, nobody
Nobody
else
does
does
what?
Quite
that.
honestly,
We have
but
board meetings that go on for 5 to 6 hours
So
at a
if,
time.
but we just have to make
we have
sure
to get our
that
business
what
done,
we
whatever.
put
If it's half
on
an hour or
the,
3 hours.
so like, there's nothing else going on the agenda for the 25th
Right.
except for this rotating arts program. It's got to get done.
It does.
It's all about setting up your agendas.
Yep.
In a way that isn't too heavy.
Right.
Okay, so, I guess there's no huge opposition, so we can go ahead and do that.
Once a month.
Yeah,
So that will be the fourth Wednesday of the month, and I will send you all, I will resend the
So
The-
we're,
At 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
so we're actually gonna do it then on the 22nd.
We are going to, so the next meeting is the 25th, and the meeting after that's the February 22nd.
So we're gonna go 4 weeks until the next one.
Correct. So it would be the fourth Wednesday. Correct.
So we're going to meet on the 25th
Correct?
Of this month.
Yes.
of this month, so
So
January
we still got the
25th.
25th of this month, but then after that, it'll be once a month and it'll be,
And then it will go to the end of February.
Correct.
So January 17th. You got to make sure you set up 6:04.
Yep. For
And
a
from
long
7
time.
a.m. until we're done.
And then it will be February 22nd.
well, we're
Correct.
gonna try to go 3 hours. I guess.
No, we're not. I don't think there's, what do you mean, try to go 3 hours?
Well, I don't know, well, I mean, we're gonna go an hour and a half and we're way over that.
Complete
so I
our
don't know.
items on the agenda.
But that's fine by me, I got,
And if for some reason it goes really long, the
I can
chair
stay as
can
long
say,
as-
"Well, can we hold
as
this
whatever.
for
I thought
this
everybody else
meeting?"
had
Do you know what I
job.
mean?
yeah.
Thank you.
But we.
That's what I mean, so,
And 5 jobs.
But that's why.
that's why I'm like, 3 hours, it might not take that long.
So when
oh,
I.
when
I-
all right, yeah, yeah,
certainly-
well, but I got jobs too.
So, looking ahead, what I think needs to be done in the next few meetings, we need to, now, I don't think we'll have money appropriated by the 25th. But here are some of the things that we need to do in the coming months. We need a list of friends, and we need to reach out to those people.
My
Pooja-
friends are
What are you
poor.
talking about?
Wait, what are we doing?
Right, so friend,
Just a
I don't
friend.
have another, like at
Liaisons, we had
RDA,
talked
there's
about
other people
liaisons.
sitting around the
Oh,
table.
our,
Liaisons.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Liaisons.
Liaisons, okay.
Liaison, yeah,
And we
liaison.
need
So-
this for.
Okay.
Right, right.
So we
That's
also,
low priority.
we also need, we have a job description for interns, which can happen a little bit later
That's
in the
also a
late
low priority.
winter.
Annual
Um,
grants program is big time.
rotating arts program is big.
Time,
Yeah.
time out. Hiring someone is big time,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So that means
So that should be next then.
Yeah, we'll have it
getting
big time.
people, we
Really
need a
big time.
budget, but I'm not sure when that's gonna be, like I said, appropriate and get a count number. And then we need to have, have interviews for the person, get staff, get, I'm at a loss for words.
Okay, we
need
need to
hire
go through the
somebody.
hiring process.
Yeah.
Do we have the
Thank
money
you.
to start that today? Can HR go and post this
Yeah.
position today? Do we have the money in the till to be able to do that? We need to start
We don't
this
have the
process very quickly
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
HR, they're understaffed right now because
Yeah.
they lost a position, so it's gonna be,
But they
Very,
lose it.
um,
Did they look under the table?
so they need to,
So-
you know what I'm saying?
I do.
That should be, we should try to get that listed if we can get it out
Yeah,
there so we
and
can start getting
ASAP,
applications in.
Absolutely.
But I don't know where, do we have the money
money?
in-house? Is it just a matter of allocating into the right pool,
Yeah,
or?
well, I mean, the
Do we have the
75,000's already been, it's already here.
Okay, so we have it,
We
so-
have it, but
but it's
like,
just a
we
matter
don't
of
have an account
accounting it.
yet, and we
Okay.
need a budget, but, yeah.
If it was
it's
at the
there.
state yet
So
or
to
someplace
first
else.
create a
then-
budget in order to hire this person?
We need to, the money needs to go into a specific account so it can be
Right.
Yeah,
drawn.
but don't we have to have a budget that we approve on, that we're gonna put $20,000 into salaries
So this
over 3
is,
years?
I mean, we
Each
could,
year.
It'd be a good idea to have
so
a
just
budget.
saying, all the things that we need to do,
But
we
can
need to
start
get a
the
list of
hiring
friends, we need
process?
to have interns job description, we need to improve our budget, we need to hire somebody. We need to finalize and approve those routine art locations, including all of the things that go into that. We need to have fundraising goals.
Are we talking about the January agenda?
No, I'm saying in the coming months, you missed that part.
I know, but can we talk about the January agenda?
So in January, because I haven't, in
Okay.
January, I think what we need to do is, on the 25th, we need to finalize this rotating arts program, and that is what we're going to focus on.
And our budget.
And our budget, so we can get going on the
We
hiring.
could talk about putting a budget together that way.
Okay.
And also, the annual grants programs, that's one of our leading programs.
It
We need
is.
to have that started.
Okay, but like I said, reminding us that we've got
Yeah, hiring staff.
hiring
That's
someone
very high
that's gonna
priority.
takes, right?
That's not gonna happen at an agenda, at a meeting like this.
No.
That's not an
um,
agenda item. We've already approved it, go do it,
Yes.
right? Figure
Right.
out who's interviewing.
We just gotta do
how
the
that's gonna
budget.
work.
Yep.
We
So we
got
need
the-
to pick sites at our next
But who
meeting,
is
right?
approving the candidates? Is this committee or is it
But
the mayor's
committee,
office?
that's-
Then that's an
No.
agenda item.
You won't have this, you won't have this many on the interview panel, right?
No, but,
Maybe the
Okay.
chair and vice
Should-
chair or something, or?
you see what I'm saying though? Is it just an internal thing? Or does this come, or do the applications come to the committee? What do you think?
No, I don't think they should
You
go to
wanna
the
hire
committee.
somebody,
Matt
or
and
you
I,
wanna-
or just me, will meet with whoever else from your staff, I think, to talk.
The chair and vice chair.
I think you need 2 people from this committee.
Yeah, chair and vice chair.
You wanna do it?
Sure.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They have to interview people and,
Yeah, as long as.
They can be
time
part of
works
it.
out, and
They
if I
can-
can't make it for some reason, somebody else wants to step in.
yeah.
Okay, all right, then that sounds fine.
You know what I mean? Set that up and,
Yeah, but we should work on a budget.
I think
We
the
need to have a budget
is-
because-
Yeah, you can't, you don't know
Ground
what you're gonna
zero.
do without
Can
a
it look
budget.
like this? Can it look like, almost like what you had started? We have 75,000.
Okay, so,
Minus
doesn't have to
20,000.
be,
no.
you just, it's line item, budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This program's admin staff, whatever. It
right.
doesn't have to be ugly. It can be pretty easy.
So
Yeah,
it's,
okay, great.
so we are going to need to make an agreement that on the 25th, we are going to finish the rotating arts program.
Okay.
And we are going to approve a budget.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah.
2 items,
yeah,
no more.
right.
Well, and but that includes site designation. Do we want to do that on the 25th as well? Because that's going to get out to us, right? We're going to
Right,
review
right,
those
yeah,
sites.
yeah, site-
Come with our top 5s or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
we
Yeah.
could certainly discuss it if we don't
Right.
finalize it, you know, we need to.
At least
Agreed.
pare that down so we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
get some
yeah.
ideas.
Yeah.
A lot, as
I'd
part
rather
of
apple down
finishing.
than pear down.
Yeah.
Okay, so all
We
we,
should make them put a
all
quarter
we're
in jar when
doing
we fund this
is,
art program.
time out, all we're doing is coming at the next, for January 25th, we're coming with the 5, each person's top 5 sites.
Sure.
You throw them on the table, we see which ones are duplicative,
Common,
and then we go from there.
Yep.
Okay? That's all, that should take 10 minutes, not even that. Okay, then,
Well,
and then in February,
Yeah, it can take.
then in February, we are going to, let's see. We also need to then start going into the approving the art locations, finding them, approving them, doing whatever we're going to do in terms of coordinating with other departments, and to start some fundraising goals. I also have, in March, approving a website design and logo.
So,
Because that will
Celestine, I
be
think
then to
the
the bid out.
miscommunication we had
Yes.
Yeah, it's
about like what the annual grants program versus the RAP program.
I'm getting there.
Okay, but I think annual grants, that should be started to be vetted in February.
What do you mean vetted?
We should start looking at it. We should have a mock-up of what the program is, kind of like what you did for the RAP.
Well, how are we
program.
going to do, we have to, how are we going to do that?
No,
in
this is the annual
February?
grants program.
Do we have like an actual like PDF or something like that, like just how
Why do we
it
need
looks?
it? No, this
Or-
is just for the annual grants program, just like we talked about, we're talking about the RAP program.
So you want to, so what you want to
Get the
do
grant
is you want to
program
put,
out there.
you
Yeah.
want to put, you don't want to do art locations, but you
That's-
do want to
that's
do
not
art
what I said.
locations.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Rotating art locations, I
Yeah.
mean. Okay, so what you want to do in, I'm a little concerned about February, but what you want to do in either February or March is start going through and creating an annual grants program.
Yes.
All right, so let me just see where I put that.
Listen, guys, when we get the staff person hired, this will be so much easier
Yes.
because the
I
staff
agree.
person will be working on this
I
stuff.
actually had that,
See
I
what I'm
actually had
saying?
that in May.
Okay, I'd like to have it this in February.
I think February's early, I think March, because
It's a huge program. the
That's-
annual
yeah,
grant
I
program.
think
That's why I think
February's
we're
early.
gonna need to start, I mean, we look at how long we've been spending on this one, and hopefully we can hire somebody that's gonna consolidate some of this time, but we need to start working on the application, because that's like.
no, it's not an application, it's a program description.
Okay,
The whole program,
program
right?
description, right.
we could start it.
I think that we
Maybe
should
make
start
some
it,
broad
yeah.
decisions on the program itself
And then
Yeah.
pare it down.
Yeah,
for
Sharing
starters,
it.
or
I'd like to
okay,
sit on February.
so
50 cents already.
Mm-hmm.
let's just see what kind of time we have left in February to do the annual grants program.
There are models.
Also, are you
we
There
can
hearing-
look
Yes,
at
You know,
and-
there
they're
is. We have
reinventing
a
this every
skeleton
single
We have a
already.
skeleton
are,
already,
yeah.
so.
No, but like I said, but you know, you have to go through all these
You do,
pieces
all
and you
the
have,
time.
just like I showed you, we have an outline and you fill in the pieces and you make a program.
I think we're getting better at communicating also and like finding,
Program
ways to
description.
consolidate time. So I think this.
Okay,
should take
so
us in the right
then
direction.
we need to, in March, we're gonna continue that, approve a website design, discuss a logo.
One question, on that, are you separating that out between bid for the logo and the website, or are you trying to do that together? Because that's gonna make it interesting.
Because your logo is gonna, or your entire brand identity is gonna determine what your website looks like.
Very true.
One doesn't, yeah, you can't, one doesn't.
Do the
come
logo
from-
But we haven't even talked about.
I'm just wondering if those are being
So let me just
put out
back up,
separate.
let me back up. So we haven't even talked about what the website should like or what a logo should look like. We haven't even
No,
talked about it.
not
So I'm
Yeah.
saying let's start talking about it in March.
Mm, okay.
Perfect. Oh,
I'm not
wait.
talking about bids or anything like that.
That becomes kind of, is that a little late? Because
March,
whoever's
yeah.
gonna be doing this, it could take anywhere between, I mean, if you wanna do a process,
Mhm.
we have to have the parameters ready to go, so that the person then, because once we actually, whoever bids on it, then they gotta come back with product to show us.
Right, don't they give us like 5 designs or 3 designs? We pick
depends
as a
on what we
committee
put in the
that we're
parameters.
And then,
interested in, or-
yeah,
Yeah.
So,
I almost feel like, with our mission, and I wonder if you might even have more of a creative, if we have just the outline of what we're going to communicate.
okay, let's remember, if we have, even if we had 2 meetings in February, which we could do, but it just can't be at 7 o'clock in the morning on the second Wednesday.
Right,
It could be this 7 o'clock in the morning on the second Thursday.
right.
So if we had 2 meetings, then we
Can
could
get
do
through
that in
some
February. We're not gonna be able to get a program and discuss the
Yeah.
parameters around a logo and a website in
The only
February.
reason why I'm saying this is because once we have all our programs in place and everything, we won't be able to even put it out there because we have no logo.
Right.
You know what I mean? It would be.
Yeah, it'd be like a city logo with GBP.
Yeah.
At the bottom.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if we wanna like
So
hit
this
the-
is kind of like why I put the logo on the website before the annual grant program.
Yeah.
I did.
Right.
Okay.
Because I felt like it needed to happen in the middle. Okay, so we're gonna create this rotating arts program, we're gonna have a budget, now we gotta get this information out there, so let's, put it in the middle
What has
and
to be
then.
talked about for the logo? I mean, why does that take so
Well,
long?
because remember, your logo's not just a pretty picture on a page. It's your entire
Not gonna be a pretty
branding
picture.
strategy, your communication. It has to evoke something.
It has to
doesn't-
embody everything that
but
GBPAC
this
is,
all
not just
about
like a visual, like,
Pretty
stamp.
picture.
So
yeah.
like, it has to be in line, it has to like kind of talk about our mission.
Right, and then of course, once we actually, so the logo process could potentially start already, knowing that we need, for example, we have our mission and our name,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
With those
we've
two
got those
simple
things
things, we could already start the logo process.
Yep.
Now, if we take it outside the website process, the website, we need to tell the person.
Person who's designing the website, this is what the logo is.
Everything that we need.
We have to pick colors.
All the
I mean,
functionality.
I can't tell you how many months we discussed at the school board picking colors.
mm.
Oh my
Do
Well,
either of you
it's-
guys want to
Nothing like design by
head up a
committee.
logo?
Designed by
Well,
committee,
now
not a
here's
good
the
thing.
other thing, because we both have businesses that actually do this for a living, is there a
Right.
conflict of interest in
Yes.
us getting the project? Technically,
Yes.
there's
We
a
talked about the
huge conflict
website.
of interest.
We
Oh,
did,
if we're going to be paying you, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So unless we do it for free.
right.
Now, I don't know if you.
I don't have capacity to do that for free, no.
Right, that's your job.
Yeah, I have projects
Well,
that pay that I
artists
need to
can't
pay
do it for
bills,
free.
so.
Technically,
no.
Oh, come on.
If somebody wants to do it for free, by all means, then
I-
that's
I-
what you get though, you
What
get
you
paid
what you
for
pay
it.
for.
You
Well,
look like the
what I'm
starving artist
saying-
kind to me.
Yeah,
So all I'm saying is technically, Nat and I can't bid on this.
Sure.
Because we technically would approve ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a
well,
conflict of interest.
we talked about, the approval could be like a step back outside of it, just like if you
You're
were bringing our
outside,
piece,
right.
but the topic that came up was, how do you talk about voting on design things when it's like, if I'm the expert and I'm recommending this thing, and I
Right.
can't vote on it to be a good design,
Right.
then that gets sticky.
I think professionally, you probably would prefer not to bid on it, just because it would be.
I mean, I would have no problem like doing it, but it's a matter of just like, and when we're talking about the process and
Or
all
you
those other
could just
things,
recuse
like,
yourself from the discussion.
That's
right,
it, recuse-
like
But then
my,
again, who's?
Yeah, but then,
we're
look at Matt, sure.
But
talk
he
about how to
can
do it,
recuse
and-
himself from discussion, but we can ask him questions.
Um,
But also, I mean,
Not
it doesn't, you don't need to be
Sure.
a professional to make these types of decisions. I mean,
No,
I have
you don't. If
experience.
you like it, you like it. If you don't,
Right,
you don't.
right.
That's-
But,
that's-
right,
that'll
but
happen.
that's all I'm saying is
Would you call that word recusing?
Recusing, yeah.
So basically, in light of this, what we can do is we can definitely steer it and create all the documentation that we can actually put in place in order to get those bids out. I mean, get people to give us prices
Yeah,
out now.
that would
I
be
mean,
great.
that super high level,
Your
just,
knowledge of
what content we need in there,
Mhm.
what's the actual functionality of the site, and of course, and we know what the user, so
Mhm.
the person we're gonna hire, how she's gonna
Mhm.
have to enter information in.
Mhm.
And then so all that in right, so that it's
Mhm.
user friendly, blah, 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 we have
Mhm.
control of the site, we have ownership and all this other stuff.
Right.
So we can already put that document together.
Okay, let's do it.
So that we just have to go ahead and approve it, so that we can
Right.
already get it out,
Mhm.
to get that ball rolling.
Yeah,
If
'cause
that's
otherwise we don't
that's
have
okay.
to do
So-
that.
And of course, content is subject to development.
So if we could just put that on the next agenda, we'll put
Yeah.
that on the agenda and then we'll just.
So then you,
Oh, so for
so that we'll have a document ready.
time out, no,
January,
we have got to finish this rotating arts program.
But we just talked about everything, we're just gonna approve that, right?
The document.
We just talked about it.
Yeah, so
The
like Matter
RFP
and I, or
data.
Matt and or I,
Yeah,
can create a
Okay.
document.
That we can send, that we
That
can give
we
to
will
purchasing that
need.
can send out to bid it,
Right.
Okay.
or to call or whatever. Do you
you
know
can
what I
just
mean?
do action on, we don't need to discuss it because we just did.
Because, I mean,
No, we will need to put that.
now
Okay.
this
On the agenda.
website gets housed not within the Green Bay system, but it gets housed, it will,
Didn't we, we're
where,
not housed within the Green Bay system.
No, the page that's up within the city would just be a
Oh.
page within the city that would link
Link
to
it?
the,
Link
Yeah,
to-
right,
link
yeah.
to, yeah.
it's a standalone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, we'll do that on January 25th.
because,
strong.
because the city does have people on staff, right? I mean.
They
the-
do, but they,
Yeah, I was gonna say, good
People
luck
on
though.
staff
If
to
that's what
do
you're
what?
relying on, good luck.
No,
We're
what I'm saying
redoing
is
our
when
website
there's a
and-
problem, because now are we gonna then pay that agency, is there gonna be a line item on that
Chicken
bid
in our budget.
that there will be maintenance and technical
I think part of that
support?
comes down to how you do it though, because like technically one of the options could be, I can build a Squarespace site in a week that has all the things that we need, it's very basic, and still your cost at, just
Yeah,
like
you
getting that
can,
done.
But you and I can't do it. So
Well,
the next
Or
person
could
that-
we?
No, we can't.
Personally,
unless
not.
we're gonna
You're
pay
saying no
ourselves.
though, could it work? Like if I were to do
Is
the
there a
website and
conflict
send it
of
all up?
interest?
Is there anything against it, or would I just have to step out and then do that?
Accuse
Is
yourself.
that even a possibility? Because I,
Recuse, yeah, I don't know why that's a problem. I mean, it's like the same thing with Pedro.
Yeah,
I mean, it's, what's the
We need
difference
to have a
between
review
doing a
process.
website, and doing an art
We're
piece?
gonna have 3 people submit, right? The lowest bidder is gonna get the,
Lowest qualified.
mhm.
but
right?
that's unless we like someone else's motif better.
Yeah.
Well, no, we
Well, we
don't
won't
see
know the
anything.
motif until they
You
do
don't
it.
see anything
Oh, I
until.
see. So we're just
you
taking the lowest
gra-
common
you-
denominator?
You give the project to the
lowest
person,
Bidder that's most qualified.
Okay,
right. Now, in those circumstances, because you're not gonna see what it is, the question is, for example, if Matt and I both go into this and we have a third
conflict of
person,
interest.
then, and we're gonna get paid to do this, then technically, there is a huge conflict of interest if we're gonna be voting on our own.
I don't think so.
but we wouldn't be voting.
You wouldn't be
That's what
voting, you'd be
maybe-
recusing.
Yeah.
You'd be recused, you
Well,
would not
yes, we
vote.
have to recuse ourselves
Right.
on this 1, 2, 3, 4.
So it would just
No,
be us.
I don't vote.
It'd just
Oh,
be
1,
the
2,
three.
3.
So there's a majority of the committee and that would be fine.
Okay, so then is that something you would wanna do? Do you wanna create the
It's an
document?
option like that I can do, that I know that I can get it to a spot that I know like what we're looking for and all that stuff, and it's gonna come in well under $5,000. Like, it's a thing I can do, but by no means do I like need this thing to happen. Like, if it works out and it's a good deal, like, I can submit as the bid, and if it comes back, then cool. If
Yeah.
not, no hard feelings, like, that just doesn't fit in my capacity then.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you wanna create the document?
Well, we got,
That's all
Yeah.
I'm asking. Do you want to create the logo parameters? I mean, basically the scope. Do you wanna write the
See,
scope?
I think that's something we'll have to.
Yeah, I
we'll
gotta
have
say
to
that,
discuss.
that
That's
is
the
the conflict.
Right. I can't create my
I'm
own
gonna
proposal.
define, I'll come up with a proposal on what the best design for this committee would be,
And then
I'm
I'll
gonna bid
create
on
the
it.
submission
Okay,
for it.
so,
I'll answer my own
so-
question, yeah.
I can say, I have no
I love
interest
answering my own questions.
in proposing for this.
I think it's
It's
something that
submitted
also
bid.
can needs to
So
be talked about as a
Great.
committee.
Yeah, I have no interest in doing
So you
that.
have no
I'm
interest
not
and then
here
you
to do
won't
that.
go ahead and bid.
I
So
am
you
not
could
going
write
to
it.
bid.
Okay, so
So
you
I
can
can
help us
create the
create that
document.
document
Yeah,
then of
so
what
I'll
we're
create the
looking for.
scope so that we can get
Excellent.
that.
That's
filed
perfect.
out
Okay.
and get that.
Thank you.
That is
out.
perfect.
All right, so on the 25th, we are going to discuss,
And I need to get this done by the next meeting, which is the
correct,
25th.
right, you need to get it done by
Oh, yeah.
the Thursday before the next meeting,
Because
which
we have
is,
to put it into the
yes, that's right.
emails.
Thursday at 3, actually, is my.
Thursday at 3.
Well, really Thursday at 9 in the morning, that'd be better for me. But, so that I can make sure I get it to Anita. So on the 25th, we're going to discuss Pooja's document, we're going to approve a budget, we're going to very quickly talk about top 5 sites, and we're going to finish the rotating arts program.
Bam.
Website.
Do not add anything more. Under pain of decapitation.
Oh, wow, this just went old school with it.
Thursday.
Old school.
These teachers are, you gotta watch.
Yeah,
You gotta
She's
watch.
gonna bring a ruler to the next meeting.
Thursday, 3 p.m.
Take that in.
Next time we're watching, there's gonna be a
I'll take
news.
decapitation into consideration.
Motion
And then
approved.
on,
Yeah.
so that's what we're gonna do, and then, on the
Sorry, go
22nd,
ahead.
we are going to begin the annual grant program description. We're going to also need to, I think we're probably going to finalize the logo and website. Okay.
Well, sounds like,
Was logo put in that?
Yes,
Next.
well, what happens is whoever we're going, they need to first give us, so what I'll do is I'll put the due date for the submission of the logo in first, and then the website start date will be after approval, right? So then they need to complete the website within 3 weeks after approval.
Because aren't they gonna wanna talk to us with regards to what the logo, what our thoughts on, are you just gonna give them the mission statement?
I'm gonna give them the mission statement,
Okay.
and of course, we need to determine colors. Now, I can say, but
Wouldn't you look to them
remember,
as the
you
expert?
I would look to them as
create-
the expert. I'm just gonna say right
Well-
Because
now.
otherwise you end up
I
with
like
the pea
blue.
green that's in
The
the
whole
whatever.
color thing at the school district was ridiculous.
Yeah, I would leave it
It's
to the
green
expert.
bay.
I would
They
leave it
have
to the
green.
expert.
I would suggest then to, you know,
Emerald?
propose a color scheme,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe, so basically when the scope goes out, that we need to have at least 2 color schemes plus
Mhm.
black and white.
Yeah.
That way, if we just want to stay black and white neutral, that's possibility too.
I don't think black and white is neutral.
But,
Okay.
I mean,
it's a buffer.
So, okay, and then we have what we're gonna do in February. I need to look at this again.
I know what you
And then in March, because I need to look
I
ahead.
don't have breakfast yet.
In March,
I think,
Do
we're
we
good.
have to get into March?
No, I think we're okay.
look, I'm in March. It means you're in March.
Can
I know, but
May, January.
Can I get a motion to,
9:30.
get
To
a-
adjourn? The motion to what? What are we doing?
we cannot talk about any more items, so
So
we're on
where's the motion
adjournment.
to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second one?
Second.
Second, all in favor? All
Aye.
opposed?
Did you fill this out already?
Okay.
I thought we did this when we signed up,
I
no?
think we
No.
did.
This is fun, let's do it
I don't
again.
have it. I don't think I do.
Oh, just, it went to the clerk, right?
I don't think I have it for everybody.
I definitely signed with you.
Yeah.
You know, one, there's 2.
Oh, there's 2?
Yep, that's why I gave the second one.
Okay.
So,
Did you
do it again.
Yeah, being duly what? I can
I
touch it then.
I don't have it.
I can touch it then.
Sure can.
I don't have it in front of me.
Then it says being duly?
Yes, that's what you had asked me about.
Being duly awesome.
No, I need to talk to you about.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm
Just so
sorry.
that I understand.
Mr. Dooley?
clearly, So I'm not,
Okay.
because
Being
it
duly-
is a statement, so.
It is, all right. I said